Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is January 30th, 2025. I am James Jones. I'm joined today by Mr. Greg Leahy.
Oh, hoy, everyone.
Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Good evening.
Mr. John Lindemann.
Hello, James and listeners.
It's episode 912, and I'm here to talk about business. John.
Yes?
I have a business question. As the most businessman on this show.
Absolutely.
If you, really, this is about you. If you are producing a video game and you're trying to get through the initial concepting stages and get it through approval and get it greenlit to get moving. So you got to work on some concept stuff. You might need to have some experience with some level design. And I'm going to let you speak to experts at any company in the space about getting that stuff right. The true, you have the opportunity to speak to the true highest flying company in the world at pitching a game and making sure your concept is strong and making sure the ideas are viable to your management team. What company would you want to have involved in helping you finish your project?
Well, I mean, it would depend on the type of game because obviously I wouldn't go to Nintendo for anything online related, for example, since they don't really have that. Okay. They aren't the best in the industry in that. They're the best in the industry in most other things, but I would say Nintendo would be up there, perhaps Capcom, perhaps
That's right, Sega. You would go to Sega to get your business pitch off the ground and working perfectly. Because now you can. We at Sega have introduced a new, exciting prospect, a new concept that's never been worked anywhere in the business in our new Sega XD gamification division. We call it Braintal. What is that? It's like rental for brains, where you can rent the brightest minds of Sega for your project to help get it off the ground. That's right, Braintal, for the people that brought you Fog Gaming, the future of gamification of arcades.
Braintal.
Like rental for brains. Sega
Wow.
is pitching a service where you can hire their people for their brain power.
And this is aimed at what? Is this aimed at independent developers?
It's aimed at other companies.
Okay.
Sega.
I just don't know. I don't really, I guess, understand.
Believes they have invented a new business paradigm where a company sends their experts to another company for a fee.
So you form a game company with no game designers? Is that?
Well, it's more like I have a game that we're working on, but we need somebody to come in and help us polish it up, help us come up with some ideas, help us finish the pitch up so that we can send the pitch off.
Okay.
Make sure the hook's good. You know, all things Sega's known for being very good at.
So this is for pre-production.
Yeah,
okay.
That's my read. Yes.
All right. That makes sense because otherwise I would say, okay, well, if you have a game company, you have everybody but game designers there?
I guess. So the beauty of this is Sega is patting themselves on the back for inventing consulting. Congratulations, you absolute buffoons.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal this joke from GX, who is the resident Sega expert. I really know that I need to sign a deal with the company to help my business when that company are the geniuses who branded it Braintal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We're dealing with 10,000 IQ here, so these are the minds I need to rent. There's a lot of layers to this story. The fact that Sega has a gamification division called Sega XD is part of it. I'm fascinated. They pitch it as companies like local governments can request game developer support with coming up with ideas, drafting proposals, and working out the details needed to get game development projects started. Local governments. Or other companies. The service is not available to individuals. It's being marketed towards corporations that want to create a game, presumably for marketing or PR purposes, but do not possess the human resources for game planning. The idea is to provide a way for companies to enlist a game developer's expertise only when they need it. Sega, let's talk.
This feels so niche. Okay, yeah. The
It's incredibly niche.
It's incredibly niche. I mean, it sounds like what they're proposing is that if your local water company wanted to have
water? That's the problem mine's been having lately.
Not even that, an internal game aimed at employees or like training employees or something like that, and they would hire Sega to design it for them.
Yeah, or like
so
you're a company releasing a game for set-top boxes to promote your movie.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Sega, why? But also, they called it Braintal, like rental for brains. It's just, what is wrong with this? Like, legitimately. So, GX used to do this thing, he didn't do it this year, where he would drag me onto a stream that he was hosting. And he would basically hit me with trivia of which one of these dumb things did Sega do this year. And sometimes that would be like 45 minutes. And I would get to things and I'm like, excuse me, what? What? They did one of these? No, they can't possibly have done one of these. These are all too stupid. Then the answer would be, no, they did all of these. This is up there. This is truly elite level, like, are you fucking kidding me? Bro, Braintal. But also, Sega, if you've got time to rent out your game developers to help conceptualize games, maybe you have a resource allocation problem.
Maybe.
Just a thought.
Just
a
maybe.
thought. Oh my God. This is like, if you could give me a company though, to get this working with, Sega's definitely on the list. It's like, oh man, this is just perfect. They have a website and everything. Like, what I can read of it in Japanese, because Sega did the very smart and not at all obnoxious thing of making all the text on it pictures.
They'd have to do that, right? Japanese websites?
Some more than others, but, and some of it's just because the font choices for Japanese aren't great, but hey, there's a really good reason you don't do that. Does anybody know what it is?
Yeah, not searchable.
Well, that's true.
What is this? Is the text? You're saying the text is embedded in the images?
Yes.
Well, yeah, you never do that because then you can't update it. You have to make new images and upload new images to your website if you want to change anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
But also for visually impaired customers.
Yeah.
Who use screen reading technology. This is very not helpful for them. But if one of your targets is governments, you should probably have at least like the most basic level of like, hey, this is an accessible website. Sega, you absolute buffoons. Yeah, it's an image. Why is it an image? Why all of this text is why? Why did they do this? This is surreal. Okay, all right, here. What is Braintal? Braintal is a matching service that allows you to, this is translated, allows you to easily rent a game planner. Our highly imaginative game development professionals will act as your brain and help you with your planning work. If you can't come up with interesting ideas, please contact Braintal. Braintal.
Oh, Braintal.
Braintal.
It's a rental. You're renting okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But they didn't call it but they don't call it that. They call it Braintal. If they had gone Brental, it'd be a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Google Translate figured out that's what they're trying to do and did that. But anytime they wrote it in English, it's Braintal. At Braintal, you can request a brainstorming, idea generation, production, and planning materials. Oh my God. How much does it cost to use? There are many plans. I bet. Sick. You absolute idiots. Oh, I love this for us. I love this. I love that we live John, we should really get in this business. Like, we don't have to actually make anything.
No.
We just have to pitch.
And the customers also would not even know if you're doing a good job or not.
Yeah. But like the beauty of it is it's not like when you do consulting work and you pitch ideas, you're pitching ideas to try to get picked. If your ideas are fucking garbage, you're not going to get picked and you're not going to make any money. This is about leading brainstorming sessions. You don't have to actually pitch any good ideas.
No.
You're getting paid by the hour. Oh, this is a scam. This is beautiful. Like I've done a complete 180 on it. As a service, I think it's still awful. As a business, I think it's brilliant. Truly. Sega, this is Super Game. We found it, boys. Super Game is consulting dollars. Fuck, that actually would be a really good Super Game. Shit. I think I need to go work for Sega. That's a phrase no one's ever said. I am the first person to ever say that phrase. I am confident in that. Shit. There is a part of me, and I've noticed this in other things where, like, I'll like something that's awful, and I just consume so much of it that I start to become genuinely invested in it. And I'll give you a good example, like actually not even, it's NIAA football from a small Society of Friends university in Kansas that we got way into because for whatever reason, they were on ESPN streaming service and their logo was a very buff bird. Like Tony the Tiger on steroids, but a bird. And their school is just called Friends because they're Society of Friends. And I just remember like actually getting invested in their awful football program. I feel like the J&J Dream Factory has become that. Like I've come all the way around to the point where now it's like, I'm actually invested in these stupid ideas and I see the seam and I'm like, I could make a lot of money. My brain might be broken in the right way to make a lot of money. John, I think our brains are broken in the right way to make a lot of tremendously, irresponsible money. Ethically unsound.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, if you remove morals from the equation, it's amazing the capitalist opportunities that crop up.
The problem is, like, as I've gotten older and as I've, like, for the joke, trained my brain to go deeper down the J&J Dream Factory hellscape hole, the morals don't come down with you. They're just up there, hanging out. And, like, the deeper I get down there where it's like, what if I had a rental service for brainstorming sessions? And then I'm like, that's consulting. They're just selling consulting with a stupid name.
Yeah.
I could sell consulting with a stupid name. I could do that. That could be me. And then, like, I go to work and there's like, I saw this yesterday. Somebody posted in the RFN Discord, or the NWR Discord. And like, I went to work today and I was talking to consultants who were on a major project for us. And I'm like, I'm getting brain-told right now. I could be the brain-toller. That could be me. They're not telling me anything useful right now. Everything they're saying is bullshit and they're just charging us. It's like, this could be me making this money. It's dark. It's a dark line of thought. Because it doesn't go anywhere productive. Except for my bank account, boys. Yeah.
It's like, the thing is with Braintal is that you would think about that. Like, that's something that you would say to someone as a joke. You know?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want to rent my brain? You want to take out a Braintal? And they'd be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah. But Sega's like, hey, this is a brilliant business like, that no one's ever done before.
Like, no, this is a legitimate business.
Our target is governments. It's like, what? Pardon? But also the fact that they don't at any point seem to realize all you've done is described consulting. My dudes, what are you doing over there? But like, again, the extra kicker is Sega has a gamification division called Sega XD, apparently. What an unbelievable company. I mean, so I mentioned Fog Gaming. This is an RFN favorite. I'll just mention it in passing. Sega, when they talked about Super Game, which don't ask about Super Game because no one knows what Super Game is or if we have or have not played Super Game yet, if Super Game is even playable, if Super Game will ever be playable, if Super Game is real, if Super Game is in the room with you right now, no one knows. It's just a thing that Sega threw out in the middle of an investor briefing. We're working on Super Game, and they describe Super Game in some vague detail about it being basically a gas. Basically, it's just gas, is what they were describing. But not Sega, man. They got to come up with a dumbass name for it. One of the other
Sega,
brilliant...
let us not forget the company that his name is a contraction of service game.
It's true. You're right. You know what? They're just going back to their roots. The mob. So they pitched a thing called fog gaming, which was, what if we leveraged the CPU power of the arcade machines at our arcade businesses when they're not in use to do cloud computing to run games? Which is a very odd business plan in and of itself, because one, there's not that much horsepower in those machines. Two, the network going to those facilities is definitely not enough to run a data center. Three, data centers exist and are very efficient and very productive. And four, Sega shut down their arcade business soon after announcing fog gaming. It's just an A+ company. That's
it was a last-ditch effort, basically. They knew it was closing, and like, well, let's. I
guess.
Yeah. When that's through.
It's the Braintal difference. It's the Braintal difference. What a. I need to work for Sega. Because I feel like I could pitch anything, and I would get like, oh, genius. This man's gonna go far here, boys. Like, what? You just pitched him food delivery services. I did. I actually did. It's just a rebranded Grubhub, but he doesn't know that. He's stupid. And eventually I'll get found out, but not after I've pocketed a tremendous amount of money. And again, anything is easy if you don't have ethics. And I don't, and y'all can disagree with me if you want here. I don't think it's morally wrong to scam Sega in particular. I think they deserve it. That's my consensus. Their history tells me they deserve it.
I just want to really screw them over, and when they realize it, I just want to say to them, "Welcome to the fantasy zone. Get ready." And just walk out the door.
So I think what you do is you scam them real bad and make them desperate to find someone to help them with the problem they've now created. In the meantime, you've spun up a second consulting firm. And you get the contract, and then you leave and immediately come back in the room right after they fire you. Go, oh, I'm the team here to help you fix this problem that I created.
Yep.
Here's my check.
Call it
brilliant.
Cleantal, because they're the people that clean it up. You're just renting somebody to clean up the mess.
Oh God! You literally just subcontract it to a cleaning service. Like, what do you mean? Literally? What are you doing? Oh, I told you we clean.
Yeah, we clean as well.
We clean the problem. We clean the problem up. The gamification company. What a truly.
I mean, never mind
website.
The fact that the concept of gamification pretty much went out of style probably 5 years ago.
Yeah. Nothing on this website. There's almost no use. Here's what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Their clients. Oh my God. I need to know what Sega's gamification company did for Fujitsu. I need to know. I need to know this. This is intrinsic to my being to know why Fujitsu said, no, Sega XD, that sounds reputable. Here's a good sign. A third of the companies listed on their clients are other divisions of Sega Sammy. Good. Perfect. Everything is wonderful. This stupid fucking company. It's beautiful. Speaking of stupid fucking companies and business and just doing business and businessing business, we asked you, in light of the Switch 2's official announcement, to prepare us for Nintendo's upcoming investor briefing, which is next week, I think. Greg, is that right?
I believe so, yeah. It should be just a couple of days after this episode goes out, I believe, around about the 4th or something.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the IR site right now. The next event is okay, that's what's new. What's the schedule? Feb 4th. Yep, 9 months earning release. So, if you are going to be headed to that to ask Nintendo's team about their plans, maybe some of these questions will help you. We are the last word on the lips of the investor class. So if you're going in there and you're like, God, I don't know what to ask about. I asked about the buffet a few years ago and people made fun of me. I wanted tickets to the theme park and people thought I was stupid. I just want to not sound dumb. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. I want to make a good impression. Maybe you could try out one of these emails we got on for size. And maybe take it with you. And we'll help you, but we'll also help Nintendo because we're going to answer it in character, because that's a very smart and normal thing for a podcast to do. And the first email is from an unnamed United States investment bank, aka Don Ontario. Quote, the percentage of digital sales on the original Switch continues to lag behind competitors, such as Steam handhelds. In light of the announcement that the Switch 2 will support cartridges, has the production team considered a feature that would render inoperable, aka brick, any cartridge inserted, ensuring the consumer buys the game digitally? Wow. So basically it's a honey trap for Switch 2 targets to kill them.
This time the cartridges taste sweet, but that bricks them.
Oh.
The saliva activates the sequence that renders the game unplayable. So there's a compromise. If you're not silly enough to, or easily swayed by online trends enough to lick a cartridge, you can still play it that way. But it's safer to buy digitally, and therefore avoid the temptation to have that sweet, sweet taste hit your lips and render your own cartridge unusable.
I take it from the perspective of, you may have seen a story in the news back around the holidays about people in the Southern California area buying Switch games, physical, taking them home to find that instead of a game cartridge, there was a googly eye glued into the thing to simulate the sound of a Switch cartridge rattling around. You might wonder why our cartridges rattle around in a giant piece of plastic to hold 1 inch by 1 inch card. And the reason is so you knew there was something in there. But now that assurance is broken. You don't know if you've got a game cartridge or a googly eye. And we think that's just terrible. We think it is absolutely terrible that someone would have done this and resealed these cartridges, and definitely not done that in our facility. Like we want to make sure that you know that we feel bad about it, but also that there's no refunds. So we can't promise you that Switch 2 won't have the same problem, that people won't be doing this anywhere in the world, because we definitely had nothing to do with this, so we don't know where it's going to strike next on the Switch 2 launch day.
And there's no truth to the rumour that former Rare employees have become involved in the production line process for Switch game cards.
Just the boxes where I got glued to. If you want to make sure that's not going to happen, though, you cannot replace a digital game with a googly eye. It will not work. Do not put googly eyes in your Switch 2. So, it's your choice, really. But I'm just telling you this will continue to happen. And we will make no effort to stop it, because we are the ones doing it. I mean, we are horrified at seeing it happen. And so at the idea of making the cartridges smell particularly alluring to animals, like the kinds you would have in your house as pets. Like, why do my dog keep attacking my Switch 2 game cards? Well, because you can't smell it, but to him it smells like bacon.
Yeah, and then that raises the probability of it getting licked and the data getting corrupted.
Yeah,
and
this whole thing about the enzymes in your saliva activating something in the Switch cart, it reminds me of my C word for this week, for the C button. Yeah. And I was thinking contain, because like that fancy CG at the beginning of the trailer where like the various holes, I guess, are carved into the Switch, various ports and stuff. That was not actually CG. That's a feature of the console. It might be more organic than you think. David Cronenberg
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like prepare your bioport for the Switch 2, I guess is what I'm saying. But it also, there's always the risk of mutation of it, developing a mind of its own, or like growing a new port that is not something that's desirable, and so you press the C button. Hopefully, it's still there.
But maybe you press the C button, it actually reverses the galvatroning that we saw in the video, and it just goes back to a regular Switch. Or, like I said, all those ports, they kind of close up like that weird shield that the Batmobile has in Burton Batman. Where
That's just actually what I was thinking of, yeah.
it just becomes completely impervious to anything, including cartridges, at which point, you better stay digital.
Oh, it just seems like buying physical is fraught with all kinds of risks that no one could have foreseen. So
I gotta admit, though, this is the thing. Switch 2 is probably going to be pretty unique for having a physical media port as standard going forward. Right? It will genuinely be something quite unusual, and some of that is because of what Donald had contained in the question, which is, the sort of ratio of digital sales on Switch is not as high as elsewhere, so it's not as easily thrown away either. So they'll have to, kind of maintain those relationships with retailers and maintain that kind of balance a bit more carefully than, your PS5 Pro. Well, it's like, well, you can pay this much extra to have a disk drive add-on if you want. It's not the same sort of option for Nintendo that it is for the others.
Yeah, it's also probably hard for them to separate because the retail relationship. They want strong partners. Like I was at Target when I bought the Link. And I was looking through it, and the amount of shelf space Switch gets is disproportionate to the other systems. I did ask somebody why I've never seen a PS5 in the case, and I never thought about it, but the box is too big for the cases at Target for the PS5 to sit in it. So they have to keep them in the back. Just brilliant. But in terms of the sheer number of games they have on shelves, Switch absolutely blows the other two systems away. Like the variety of them. So getting past that, getting to an all digital future. But the problem is we have people like Limited Run irresponsibly producing physical copies of digital first games. Really, they're the problem that we need to deal with. We need to deal with this plague of reusable physical games. Just crush them. That's the challenge. How do you do that in a way that's not going to get you in trouble? My recommendation is violence? No, can't be violence. That's not the consulting answer. Make them fill out increasingly arcane forms in order to request orders of Switch 2 cartridges. Possibly in inscrutable languages. I think there's a route here. I gotta figure it out. Maybe I hire one of the latent writers to write my forms. Hey, you wanna buy Switch 2 cartridges? Let me have you solve this puzzle. There's an option here. There's something. I'm cooking, but it's not going right. All right, you ready for the next email?
Yes.
All right. That was this one. Dear GX, an investor, writes, Dear Radio Free Nintendo Investor Relations, while performing research on Nintendo's historical successes, I encountered an animated photograph of Mr. Miyamoto and Mr. Iwata. In it, they were showing off a feature of the Nintendo DS portable system where it prints US dollar bills. In what seems that subsequent Nintendo hardware hasn't had this feature. Are there any plans to incorporate the ability to print currency into the upcoming Switch 2? And if so, will you enhance it to localize what currency it prints based on region? Thank you. I don't know why anybody would want to print anything but greenbacks. Got to get that reserve currency going.
World's reserve currency. Recent history.
Aside, I know.
The yen experience over the last so many years. Which is not entirely unique either, but it is somewhat related to just the monetary policy in Japan is just a bit divergent from other countries.
The difference is Japan did it on purpose. Everybody else, it just kind of happened to them. Japan's like, no, drive the yen down. Keep going. We're just going to make the yen so valueless that it'll fix everything. It's an absolutely nonsense approach to monetary policy. But it's one of many nonsense approaches to monetary policy.
Well, so it's just the sort of historical perspective on it is generally sort of revolved around the notion that it's just Japanese consumers are much more difficult to get to part with their money than their counterparts in the US and Europe. So if they're loath to raise interest rates to give them any excuse to save even more, that seems to be the sort of logic as such.
It's so insane.
So there you go. Which,
our citizens are too responsible.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be some of the. I don't know whether it's just a sort of relative thing because when all the accounts you hear about the bubble era Japan before this kind of malaise set in the 90s was that they would spend on anything. They were the most irresponsible spenders. It was just
spend it all.
It's never going to go. Let's just spend it. The most, stunt profligacy, you might call it. At a certain point. I don't know whether it was just a horrible overcorrection in reality, in perception, or whatever it is, but they've basically been stuck with, kind of negative real interest rates for a long time, or sometimes just negative nominal ones, I think, almost essentially, because they do not want, there's just this eternal drive to stimulate the Japanese economy. And so, I don't think if they were to bring back a dual GBA port / money printing apparatus, it probably wouldn't be yen currency that's coming out.
I mean, but so I actually think so. We haven't spoken to our counterparts in the new Japanese government yet, which is definitely not true. Nintendo was probably on the call, like within a week of the new prime minister, taking office. Oh God, what is his name now? Shit. I can't. Ishiba. But given the current fiscal policy as a continuation of Abenomics, we actually intend to put yen printers in the new device because the Bank of Japan simply cannot print enough yen to meet its current.
It's part of the devaluation. It's part of the devaluation process. It's not actually. Sorry, investors. It's not going to make you money, but it's going to achieve the Bank of Japan's monetary objective.
It is going to literally make money. Yes, that is the intention.
There is that. Yeah, so earn. It may not earn the investors' money directly, but it will achieve the overall objectives which the government wants.
I like that the Bank of Japan describes their website as where you can find all new announcements on fiscal policy, and I'm like, what new announcements have you had to make?
Also, we won't seem
stop.
Like that's not, you're not expecting that as their primary job, but you're thinking monetary policy first, right? I mean,
we refused. We will not stop. Do you want, like, I would love to know what the deputy governor of the Kanagawa region of the Bank of Japan had to say about their current monetary policy, but I can pretty much guess. No, we're not changing course. We will never change course. You can't make us. This is literally like a 20-year plan that is the remark. I mean, without getting too far down Japanese economic thinking, they're on like a 30-year plan at this point that has shown no effort to have any success, and they refuse to try anything else. What if we keep spending more and more on elaborate civic works projects to stimulate the economy? Did the last one work? No. But this one's gonna tunnel under a volcano.
Well, I guess the problem at a certain point though is as well, isn't it? It's like you fear if you cut those things back, and you have this modelling of the private, consumer as being so unwilling to spend that you will actually, essentially cut aggregate demand in the economy and therefore cause a recession. So it's almost like they've put a gun to their own head. They dare not.
No one demanded they do it. They just decided.
You've reached a sort of steady state of just like, well, if we withdraw this now, it'll all go to pot, and that'll be. We'll get it. We'll get the blame for it. Not unjustifiably so, I guess. But it seems like they've entered into a kind of trap, basically, in that regard. But
spend $1 trillion building a Shinkansen line that doesn't go to Kyoto to save 20 minutes to go to Osaka.
I know. I mean, it's you can only in the country with the public transport infrastructure that we have here, you can only just look both longingly and very puzzled at that. That's all you can say.
When I was in Japan, there was literally like an article in a local newspaper, the English language local newspaper, where it's like, it's going to go to Nara. We don't know why it's coming here either. It's like, well, it's coming here because it can't turn more than 3 degrees every 10 miles. And Nara just happened to be in the way. It's like, oh. But nobody's like, maybe we shouldn't do this? Like, no, we gotta do it. We gotta do this. It's necessary. It's gonna tunnel under huge chunks of Japan. It'll be fine. It's also a very active earthquake zone. So yeah, we're gonna actually print money. And we're going to collect huge amounts of payment from the Bank of Japan. Unfortunately, it will also be in yen. So, we didn't think this one through all the way. And they refused to pay us in dollars.
The payment is probably going to have to be in kind. It's going to have to be fake, political favors or something, isn't it? At some point you will, the currency will get devalued enough that we'll be back to the barter economy. And I guess, this sort of influence peddling is the first step in that.
I will trade you 3 Hondas for that set pallet of Switch 2s. I don't know. Where are those going? I mean,
it is interesting with Sony, the one that obviously, like, the PS5 price increases that they brought in Japan.
Yes.
As a result of, the changing, kind of, foreign exchange landscape and, increases in costs across the board and all that kind of stuff. But, it does seem to have had an effect on PS5 hardware sales, and at times you just kind of think like they just don't give a toss about the Japanese market. They're just ceding it completely to Nintendo. But there was, more recently, there was the whole notion of, it didn't seem like it's actually going to happen, but of merging or acquiring Kadakawa, which is an enormous sprawling Japanese media sort of entity. And then there's the sort of notion of them possibly getting back into portable gaming hardware that's been discussed, which surely would be, more of a kind of acknowledgement of the Japanese market if they were to do it, considering their previous ventures in that space, PSP and Vita, were disproportionately successful in Japan. So, yeah, maybe at the very moment that it's like, I think they're just forgetting it. They just do not give a toss about Japan. There's this little light that maybe, no, they're not ignoring it completely.
So Sony's amazing. It's all I can say.
But it does make it, with Switch 2 coming on and some more of these kinds of, more, PlayStation games of the last several years, mostly like on PS4, and then, some of the games that would have overlapped PS4 and PS5 from Japanese developers, probably, they'd be quite eager to get them on Switch 2, I would have thought, because it's like, look, we're a Japanese company. This is a game that, should be able to sell well in our domestic market, but we haven't actually been able to sell it on the hardware that's popular here. That you would have thought there's a reasonable amount of pent up kind of software there from Japanese developers, some of the big ones for that reason. Like these ports, I would imagine could be coming pretty thick and fast.
That's true. We could be getting a ton of them. And then I don't know what space that leaves for Sony to occupy in the market, but that's never stopped them before. John Lindemann, proud owner of PSVR 2.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. They're sometimes they're, it doesn't seem all that joined up, does it? The hardware side and then how you actually support that. And it's the whole Vita thing, wasn't it? You know, it's just like, well, you know, there's a certain initial push, but they were so quick to kind of set it to one side, even when it probably did have a potentially quite a bit longer viable life, especially in Japan. But they're just like, nah, small beer, forget it, shut it down. Yeah. So it does seem weird to come back around to that now.
Yeah, it does. Again, Sony would be my number 2 choice for. I need to Braintal some people. Let's get Sony in here. They've got. So I was gonna make a joke. They've got 2 CEOs, but they've changed things up. So now there is at least some. They still have 2 people with that title, but one of them is the boss of the other, which makes even less sense than having 2 CEOs. So I don't know. So Sony is weird.
All you could say to all these sort of notions about, you know, or Microsoft might have portable hardware, or, you know, Sony might have portable. You know, when Sony walked away from Vita, there was still this prevailing feeling out there that it's like, dedicated hardware that's, you know, portable for games is dead or dying, you know, at the very least. You know, it won't last. It doesn't have a viable future. And it's really, you know, it really took the Switch to push back against that. And so, no, you know, they could be very successful, actually. Not that, you know, that isn't something that's, you know, to contradict the massive growth of mobile gaming that's still been going on and will continue to go on. But it's like, this is a sector of the market that can exist and can be successful if you know, have the right kind of product with the right kind of, you know, cost structure and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it can grow, right?
You know, I guess the one difference is maybe for Sony, it's just like, well, you've seen that demonstrated now for you, you know, whereas at that time, maybe you just thought, oh, well, it's all going to end. It's a dead end. There's nothing there for you.
Yeah, it's just, the thing is that, I mean, there's growth potential there, though. Like, it's funny, they just announced, you know, Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation, and people are like, oh, you know, well, why, you know, who cares about Xbox now? And it's like, you know, I agree, but you could already say that when they started to put stuff on PC. And it's like, really, okay, so this game's coming to PlayStation, but I mean, there's a ceiling, there's a cap on how many people on that audience. Whereas, like, with something like the Switch, that product is going to appeal to a heck of a lot more people than, like, a dedicated console ever will. So, you know.
Yeah, and Microsoft's position, because they actually have already had this conversation, is they view it as we're going to sell based on the strength of the experience you can have on our hardware.
Yeah.
They're saying, like, our ecosystem is going to give you a better version of the Forza Horizon experience than you're going to get on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Which I'd agree that's probably true.
I guess. I don't
think I've ever heard a Sony exec talking about drive avatars. So
yeah,
it's true.
I think that's
everything. I mean, it did for me because I got it as part of Game Pass.
Right. That's the whole thing, like free games. But I mean, Xbox at this point, I feel like they're a game publisher now. They aren't even, you know, you know, they've pretty much bought themselves into being a game publisher.
Yeah, exactly. The opportunity cost when you've acquired all this talent with all these, you know, bankable franchises and so forth of keeping it to your little corner of the world where the hardware sales have not been very good for the last couple of generations compared to PlayStation. That opportunity cost has become evidently prohibitively high. They just, even for famous money sink enthusiast Microsoft, it's like, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah. I don't, I mean, when I hear out of Microsoft that they want to make a portable, I don't understand that at all. That's just boggles my mind. I mean, who would buy it?
It does seem a bit at odds with the whole, you know, your toasters and Xbox or whatever, but I mean, again, sometimes these sprawling mega corporations don't have that joined up of thinking. Doesn't mean it can't happen.
No.
Microsoft famously had 3 phone divisions at one point at the same time that weren't allowed to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about that for more than a second, your head will explode, so don't do it.
I miss my Windows Phone, all right? I like that.
So they had the Windows Phone division. Remember, they bought Nokia.
Yeah, and they wrote it off.
Yeah, and then they had the Kin division.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bought like the third biggest company in a country, and then they're like, "Nah, we don't need this shit."
Yeah, they wrote it off for like $7.4 billion. They just
we'll
wrote
take
it
some
off.
Of the patents, whatever.
This is crazy. But yeah,
why did we do this? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, toss it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Windows Phone also will look just like your Windows PC. We're gonna make a UX that works on both. You can't do that.
Well, yeah. Well, also coincidentally, that's why like I can't stand the Xbox UI anymore. It's just because it looks terrible like Windows. Like it's just like it looks ridiculous and generic now. So
I need Live Tiles back.
Yeah.
I don't need Live Tiles back. Please, Microsoft, for the love of God, don't bring back Live. I'm begging you to not bring back Live. That was a joke. This entire segment's a joke. Please don't bring back Live Tiles. I'm begging. Oh God, they're gonna come back on the next release.
Make me another Lumia phone. Brag about
Jesus.
the camera.
All right. Tengu Gemini. I guess I'm not going to worry about reading his full name because I'm pretty sure that's not his legal name. Writes, so my friends tell me they play this game called Final Fantasy XIV. It's something called a massively online multiplayer RPG. That got me thinking. The Mario and Luigi games are also RPGs, and one just came out. What if you made a massively multiplayer online RPG out of that? Or you own the Mother series, right? That's an RPG. Make an MOMR. Oh, that's why I kept calling it massively online multiplayer. I was just autocorrecting. Make a MOMRPG and call it Mother 4. I hear these games can make a lot of money from microtransactions and monthly fees. Well, we believe that collecting monthly fees is really hard and annoying, and we don't want to do it. It just seems like it's not fun. We'd rather sell you Nintendo Switch Online service once a year as a card that you can buy at a store. It just makes everything a lot easier. As far as Mother goes, we don't actually own the Mother franchise per se. We're co-owners. And the other guy just wants to make paper, which I agree has lots of potential for monthly transactions where we could sign up for a Paper of the Month club. So we're going to pursue a Mother branded Paper of the Month club where you'll just get a piece of stationery mailed to your home every month. I think it just feels more our speed. Maybe we'll even get a Hanafuda card deck. We can combine our true passions and get you something. But this idea of a massively multiplayer Mario and Luigi just sounds like a lot of work, and I don't think the teams that are making those for us now, we can't even remember what their name is, really want to do that. Used to be Alpha Dream, but it's not anymore.
Well, acquired developed Brothership, but the idea, the series that you want to apply the massively multiplayer online concept to is the one that has a fixed 2-person party. That's pretty good. I'm going to add it to.
I like the idea though that you just roll into town and there's hundreds upon hundreds of Mario and Luigi's just.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's quite a few colour variants in Smash and stuff, but I don't think we can distinguish enough.
Not here. No, I need them to be in their traditional outfit, and you have to find your party in town.
It's one of the kind
all
of
the other Luigis.
I do feel like it's one of those kind of sad things about, like, you know, if you kind of feel like if they hadn't had the horrible divorce with Square, and maybe Super Mario RPG could have kept going. Like, that might have actually had, you know, more kind of, you could kind of feel like you could have got more, like, Final Fantasy equivalents, you know what I mean? Like, you got Yoshi as your Chocobo kind of, substitute right there, right? So you could have had, like, equivalents to, like, Chocobo things in Final Fantasy games with Yoshi. You could have, although you had it a little bit, I guess, with the island, but more of it, and then, you know, with the party, right, it's just like, well, obviously you had Bowser, you had Peach, you had the original characters, but, you know, you could have had, like, bigger parties, you know, more characters from across the Mario franchise. You know, they didn't even have Luigi as a party character and all that. Like, the potential to keep doing Mario RPG as, like, essentially like a parody of Final Fantasy, you know, like would have been kind of nice. Whereas, you know, the way it ended up going with Paper Mario and, you know, the Mario Luigi is just like, it's pretty much Mario and a sidekick, whether it's like Luigi or the party characters in, Paper Mario games, it just like they scaled it back, and they didn't really want it to be like in the form of a Squaresoft RPG at that point, because they weren't even Alpha Dream had some talent of people that had worked on Super Mario RPG. There were some connections back to that, but that's not really what they were going for anymore. It was much more explicit in that first one. I mean, you literally fight a boss from Final Fantasy as one of the secret things, all that. So, and if that had happened, then a Mario FF14 equivalent is not so crazy. But sadly, in our world, it's a bit of a stretch to go from Mario and Luigi to an MMO.
We're very excited about the prospect of creating a massively multiplayer online game on Nintendo Network, and do not believe this will pose any challenges or concerns. John, I want you to imagine playing an MMO on Nintendo's infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're in a hub town,
okay,
and there's 6,000 Luigis and 5,999 Marios wandering around. Congratulations, you're number 6,000. How do you think that's going to perform?
Slideshow?
Real good.
Yeah, I think it would be a slideshow.
I like slideshows.
Mm-hmm.
I like slideshows. Slideshows are fun.
Yeah.
So good is what we're saying. It's going to perform. It's going to be good and perform well.
It will perform just as good as other Nintendo online games.
I think it'll perform worse than other Nintendo online games. I like the idea of a MMO like hub town where it's just nothing but Marios and Luigis as far as the eye can see. And no name tags over characters. You have to find your party member through voice proximity.
Oh my god.
And you're going to hear everybody. So you're just calling out for them at all times.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, with that many people, how are they going to eliminate all the feedback from everyone's Switch speaks?
Do what now? We don't plan to do that.
The We Speak add-on that's going to be, you can just
that's the USB port at the top, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not going to eliminate that.
Okay.
No, the Switch speak wasn't the problem. It was the idea that we're going to try to fix anything. That was the part that surprised me. No.
Okay.
There's no time for this. I do like the idea of doing proximity-based voices in an MMO. It sounds so fucking awful.
That is awful.
So, at the same time, it would be very funny. It would be extremely next level funny. What if everybody's name just shows up as Mario or Luigi? There's literally no way to differentiate your party's Luigi from any other Luigi there. You just have to go up to them and ask.
That would be very Nintendo, actually.
It would be extremely funny, though.
But it would be done in the spirit of protecting people online.
Oh, yeah, we can't... It's got voice chat, but we run it through a voice anonymizer before it gets played.
Right.
Hello.
Like, it would have to be something that makes things safer by making the experience such that you don't even want to do it.
I love the idea of an MMO that won't tell you the actual player character's name, just Mario or Luigi, based on what character they're playing. Won't let you direct message, and it requires proximity voice chat to communicate with anonymized voices, so you'll never know who you're talking to. It's so terrible that everything about it makes me happy. Because I'm seeing myself play it right now. Like, if you think the weird shit that happened in the Not Me verse of Splatoon 2 and 3 was bad, this would be amazing. Like, I want one of those really bad old 80s voice scramblers. Everything comes out sounding like this. Oh. It's a good game. That game has a lot of potential. Not as a game, but potential all the same. So yeah, we'll get a choir on we're gonna have a choir make a massively multiplayer online game. It'll go great. It'll be perfect. All 35 members of their staff. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. That one's kind of long. There's one I wanted to get to that I really like. Here we go. Lord Knott writes, as an intelligent and important investor here, as you know, AI technology is the future, and the future is now. I have heard the rumors that Switch 2 will use AI technology to improve graphical fidelity, and I will not ask you to confirm or deny these rumors. However, I am concerned that even if it were true, Nintendo may still not be doing enough to get on board with the AI future. And I am not just saying that because someone almost as intelligent as me convinced me to take out a second mortgage and go all in on AI investments. What plan does Nintendo have to further integrate artificial intelligence into every aspect of the business model? Will Miyamoto-san be busy working with movie and theme park side of the business? With Miyamoto-san busy working on the movie and theme park side of the business, what progress has been made on a ChatGPT-powered AI Miyamoto-san? Have the hydraulics been installed yet to allow him to upend T-tables as needed? So, before I go into character, Google has added this fucked up Gemini shit to our accounts.
I was going to say, is that previous emailer that we mentioned, Tengu Gemini? Is that actually who's summarizing the emails for Google?
Shit. If you ask it to summarize this email, it summarizes the email as follows. An investor is asking about Nintendo's plans to further integrate AI into their business model, including progress on a ChatGPT-powered AI Miyamoto. I mean, true. Show me a longer... I can get a longer version of it? Like, okay, yeah, sure. Give me a longer version of it.
Is it just the raw text at that point?
It's just the raw text converted into passive voice in third person.
Yeah, it'd be pretty ballsy, wow. But, maybe.
The investor specifically asked about the progress on the ChatGPT powered AI Miyamoto and whether hydraulics had been installed to allow it to upend T-tables. They mentioned a significant investment in AI technology and implied potential financial difficulties due to this investment. Okay, that part, it did actually pick up subtext. Good job.
But not,
not parody.
Right.
Just subtext.
Well, I don't know. Like, I feel like Nintendo probably has been. I guess I'm supposed to answer as Nintendo. Yeah. As Nintendo, we have been toying with AI technology in ways that would improve our business, and we are aware of the importance of Miyamoto-san's contributions to our game business and theme park business and playing card business and music making. Accessory businesses, etc., etc.
Our banjo business.
Yes. Unfortunately, we've fed Iwata-esque interviews into our ChatGPT and can only get Mi-AI-moto to say.
Oh God, I hate that. Oh, I hate that so much.
Oh man,
it will laugh parenthetically, but nothing else.
Yeah, parenthetical laughs. What my
I think look, it's I don't want to. We're not talking down Nintendo's corporate AI strategy here because I'm sure it's on the bleeding edge and entirely responsible, and it will eventually be lucrative. But it is important to have contingency plans, right? If things don't work out the way that you would like, and in the event that they don't make the progress on AI that they would like to. It's okay. They can just dial up the incidence of the blue shell, and that will substitute for that.
Oh, it's true. It's genius. It's genius. What my colleagues have been neglecting to mention, just to show you how far along we are on our AI initiative. You, investor, right now, are the only real investor on this call. And in fact, you're the only person on this call. We chose you personally because we knew that you would be the person to ask this question. Every other question and every answer you've received has been triggered by generative AI. The entire thing is performative. The voices, the text, the questions, the answers, and all of it in real time. We are so far advanced on the Gen AI space. We're not using anybody else's model. We're using our own, and we are not going to release it because we think it is a business differentiator. This is an opportunity that
the Nintendo difference, isn't it? It's just the latest,
this is the Nintendo difference.
The form that it's taken.
We believe that this will drive efficiencies that no company has ever been able to realize by not only creating automatic answers, but automatic questions to feed the answers. We believe we will create usage metrics that are unknown, much like dating apps and other apps have been accused recently of using AI to generate fake content to increase their subscriber count. We will be creating fake investor briefings to bump our investment count. So you, investor, if you were fooled, should definitely go buy more stock right now. We will wait. Let's give him a couple minutes for him to leave. All right, he's left the room. That guy's an idiot. All the other investors here, if you're still on, if anybody left the call to go buy stock, well, after I said that, we just don't invite him back next time, please. Please, God. Please just don't invite him back. Nintendo actually has given an answer, and it's the most beautifully Nintendo answer of like, we're not really ready to use that yet.
Yeah, it's basically, we don't want to talk about it, but we don't want to appear dismissive of the topic in general because,
right.
You know, there's that much of a kind of gold rush kind of attitude, isn't there, about, you know, the money seems to be sloshing about relative to where they think, you know, the AI is going to generate these huge returns, that it's like, you can't just say, like, well, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but that's kind of the vibe you're getting from it, is just they don't want to say anything.
Well, the vibe they almost laid out is, we're hoping we don't have to cross that bridge, preferably.
Yeah.
We'd preferably just not have to talk about it if that can be arranged. Thank you.
The AI upscaling stuff is kind of interesting because they had a patent. Nintendo patented something which has like, it's quite broad apparently, like it's like, you know, even though it's like they didn't invent DLSS or whatever, like, you know,
right,
of course, you know, but apparently the thing that's like novel in it is the notion that they sort of, you know, like dynamic resolution, right, that you might have seen. Think about Xenoblade 2 on Switch, portably in the early days, where, you know, if you was doing a chain attack or whatever and it dynamically went down to God knows what, something under 360, probably under 360p or whatever it was, when performance, you know, is strained, you go, you know, you dial the resolution down to kind of handle that rather than like the frame rate or whatever. Well, there's a notion with the AI upscaling here where it's basically like what it would do to kind of dynamically adjust to something where the processors were under stress is actually not change the target resolution, but to change the complexity of the model it's using to scale to that resolution. So it would essentially just like, yeah, it would stay at, you know, let's theoretically say, you know, 1080p. But it would use like a less processor intensive version of the upscaling model to do that. So presumably image quality would still suffer on some level, but maybe it wouldn't be as jarring as when, you know, you had those dynamic resolution moments in games where it's just like, oh, well, that just got a lot softer. So yeah, that apparently is something that, again, you don't know if this will even be deployed on Switch 2 because they will patent enormous amounts of things that they may or may not ever actually have practical applications for. I thought it was kind of interesting, you know, given, like I said, the kind of past of like, yeah, dynamic resolution being something that can be, you know, pretty jarring, let's say, you know, in as far as like it's a substitute for, you know, absolutely, for you trying to avoid, you know, having the frame rate tank because that's jarring. Well, you know, dynamic resolution in itself can be pretty jarring. So yeah, kind of another way of trying to balance the demands of, you know, a game that's really straining the hardware with maybe making it a bit less drastic on the overall, on the image quality with the AI upscaling stuff. So interesting, but we have no idea yet how this is playing into what Switch 2 software will look like.
We will have to disable the money printing while we are running.
Yeah, you don't want the money printing routine coming up the works, do you?
Yeah, it takes up too much. And also, we're concerned that it will upscale the money to resolutions that are no longer spendable. That is a deep and possible concern of what happens if we print too much DPI on these bills. So,
they will become obvious forgeries because the image quality is too good.
This bill looks awful good. What's with this 10,000 yen note? Actually, I don't even know if 10,000 yen's a note anymore. Like, it's just...
Also, like, what you were saying about dating apps using bots and all that, it just makes me think one day there's going to be like a Matrix sequel, isn't there, where there's just everyone else in the Matrix is just a shitty bot that spouts like nonsense. And
that's now.
It's like
that's right now.
There's, you know, they have the bit where they unplug the person. It's like, yeah, you were the last one in there.
There you go. That's basically right now. Like there is a streamer I am aware of who, they have a command in their chat that causes you get a link to their Discord. And it was so constantly being used by bots who would come into streams, run that same command, get the Discord, go to there, and then spam shit. They made that one go to one for bots. They created a second Discord just to trap bots. And all that's in there are bots spamming to each other. And he goes, I just look at it every so often. And like the text on is, do not use this one. This one is for bots. The real command is this. And it's just, they just go right on in. It's a roach motel for bots. We're in that shitty internet right now as we speak. So why not just turn investor briefings into both AI generated questions and answers? AI will never ask for tickets to the theme park or complain about the buffet offerings. Wasn't
there
really
one that was complaining about the seating? It definitely wouldn't do that.
Oh no, they can't even use. What if they did though? What if they're like, these seats suck?
That's how they get.
And you'd be like, you're not even real. What do you mean these seats suck? These seats suck. We demand better seats. It's like, well, why? I love it. I love the idea of just saying, screw it. We're going to have the AI generate the entire investor briefing. Just makes everything easier. It's just perfect. And honestly, like, would we even notice? Like, would we, like...
Probably not, because when they answer a question, they sound incredibly robotic doing so, and sometimes you are like, no. Was that actually a real answer? Did that come out of the mouth of a human? You don't really know.
You're absolutely right, John. It's what James already said, wasn't it? The AI kind of answer that they've got, you're perfectly crafted to have words and say nothing.
Yes.
It is very machine-like in that way.
Can you have a Keynesian answer? Is that what it is? Like, we're just gonna dig this in and we're gonna do nothing?
The question and the answer that achieves nothing, but, a question was asked and answered, so productive.
Yeah. I want
worth mentioning the notion of that as economic policy came out of the Depression, where capital was so crippled that it was like, theoretically, this would be better than where we are now, where no one will do anything with their money. I think the economy for asking and answering questions is not quite that crippled at this moment, and nor will it ever be.
But they're legally required to do it as a publicly traded company. But it must suck, because most of the questions are stupid, so which is why we have this segment.
Achieve that legal requirement with not actually having to answer real questions, that might appeal to them, yeah.
Because, like, you just tell the investors, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't win a drawing to get to ask a question this time. That's a shame. I mean, most of these are done remote now anyway. So, like, how many quarters could they get away with doing this before they get caught? And the answer is probably too many. We might be the first one to catch them while we're reading, going, this reads like bullshit.
The different kind of bullshit. It's not the real kind of bullshit.
Is this AI?
It's airsats horseshit.
Like, if we're reading one of these one time, we just go like, this is AI. These motherfuckers had an AI press conference. I'm going to be so mad.
You never know.
Happy.
I mean, with not that it's got terribly much I can't imagine to do with investor relations. After the leaks have kind of somewhat spoiled their switch to, first phase of the reveal, they might get so sort of paranoid or, draconian about, like, let's just rein everything in about how much information we divulge that they resort to answering fake questions with equally fake answers. It could happen, I suppose.
I mean, if we've reached a point where we're using our systems to print 10,000 yen notes, then yeah, I mean, fuck it. We've already crossed some kind of Rubicon.
Although it must be said, with regard to investors, I imagine they're quite pleased rather than disappointed with the Switch 2 video, because the actual stock price has improved substantially since.
It was weird. It went down and then it went up.
Immediately it did, but since it's been up, and we're talking all-time highs, which we're talking about. Nintendo's had some pretty fucking good times, not just in the recent past, the last 8 years, but obviously before that as well. So it seems like it did what it was meant to do in that particular circle. I would say I imagine in this regard that perhaps it came as a relief, in the sense that, maybe had some that were a little bit nervous, a little bit sort of
They're going to make this shit out of cardboard, aren't they?
Are they going to do something? Are we going to get, the Wii U Redux, or, something where, it's not clear what it is, or are they going to focus on the wrong things, or are they it's just like, here it is, bigger, better Switch, bloody big 2. Moving on, and it's that's enough for me. I'll put my money in there. It seems to be a certain about that, but of course, to be fair, there are still so many details left to be filled in, especially with regard to price across various markets, well, all the markets. But I would be especially concerned about it outside of the US. It might be a bit eye-watering. Whether that sort of sense of optimism about how well it will perform in the marketplace will endure after those details come out, yet to be seen.
I'm just caught up on the what if Sega XD's not real and it's just Nintendo's AI's gone rogue and they're just using Sega's name because they think it's funny. Like, we're gonna put together a Sega pitches. They'll just believe it. What if the true consulting behind the consulting is Nintendo's rogue AI? That we can't tell the investor. We can't tell the investors about Project Nintendo AI. Cannot do it. Cannot do it. If they find out, just show them the robotic Mi-AI-moto. Just show it to them with table flipping action. What's funny is, because that idiom is a real thing in Japanese. I mean, it's a real thing in English too, but there is a Japanese arcade machine that had a table, like a low table that you flipped, and that was the game. It's a real thing. Like, it's out there. You can go Google images of it. It's truly impressive. Not in a good way, but it is impressive in a way. John, I'm going to direct this one to you. I think this is an important question for you from Random Flashbang. Are you prepared?
I'm prepared. Always prepared.
There's a lot of talk these days. Well, I need your business answer. There's a lot of talk these days about Xboxes. I feel like there should be more talks about Switch. If we let Switch be an Xbox, would it be possible to sell Nintendo expansion passes on Xbox? Quid pro quo, Mr. Gates. Also, what is a Steam Deck? What is it? Can I Pokemon?
Here at Nintendo, we encourage anybody Pokemoning.
Yeah, there should be It should be an addendum to that, which is, can I Pokemon on the Steam Deck? And if I can, how quickly can we sue them into oblivion? That's what investors are really thinking. I said a bit ago, there was a question a while ago, I can't remember specifically what it was, when I was like, oh, that's the Pal World question. That's an investor that's seen Pal World, and it's like, why haven't we sued them into the 9th circle of hell already? Yes. And, it's ongoing.
The answer was it's ongoing, and talk to the Pokemon company.
Yes, indeed.
It's like, does not involve us. Talk to them. We've been telling you this about Pokemon for 20 fucking years. Don't come to us.
No one ever gets it, do they? It was in the it was 2016 with Pokemon Go and all. It was just bonkers. Like Nintendo's share price going up, and it's like, well, it's not even that direct. It's and that's like really publicly available information. That no one's going to get you on insider trading for knowing that Nintendo does not own Pokemon outright. Like, it's good God.
No, I am once again reminding you that all questions about my Pokemon sign can be answered by reading my "We do not own Pokemon" sign. Thank you. I'm just imagining the podium they're at. There's just a big happy birthday sign behind that says "Send all Pokemon questions to Pokemon Company." That's just something. I would like to ask about Pokemon. God damn it! It's right there.
They get the James Bond villain, sort of chair that just goes into a fiery pit treatment straight away.
The problem is that scene's been forever ruined for me by the various jokes they did in Austin Powers on it. Or either it doesn't work or it does the wrong chair. Or it's just like, well, alright, well, that wasn't the plan. It's fine.
Or burns his office as well, pretty much the same thing.
That's true. Can you move one step to the right? Just keeps hammering the button. So John, what is an Xbox? Why is there talk of Xbox? Can we Xbox? Can Switch be an Xbox? Can I get the word Xbox into another sentence and not say X-Pac, which I almost said a minute ago?
Nintendo values Microsoft as a partner. Will continue to work with them in the future. At the present time, we believe that Switch is a valuable proposition for our customers, and we see no need to confuse that proposition with any other brand.
However, Switch an Xbox?
We will always consider other approaches that will delight our customers, and if involves an Xbox in the future, then we may investigate that. Thank you for your question.
Are you an AI? Are you an AI? You have to tell me if you're an AI.
Oh, the way when John, the use and the voice inflection on the word delight there just makes me think
delight is a great word. It's a word they love to use.
It also just makes me think of Rainier Wolfcastle. I like the human touch, kind of. It's like, yes, it's the least humanizing. When you put a word, it's like, this is an extremely boilerplate answer, but look at the word delight. It's not entirely po-faced.
The worst part is how he says it. It's almost a question, but not. It doesn't when you ask a question, you sort of inflect up at the end. Like he starts the inflection and goes back down, so your brain's like, oh, he's asking delight. No, he's not. It's not a question. It's an AI generated voice. He doesn't know how to inflect. I have a ongoing long-term conversation with someone where the word delight does get used sometimes, but it's really just code for, I don't know what better to say here. Let's use this word instead. And it does sometimes feel like, I can't believe I just threw the word delight in there again. That's the third time I've done it today. Oh, that's delightful. Is it delightful? Am I full of delight? Sometimes. Not. It's like sometimes your brain just gets caught on a word, and for whatever reason, specifically Nintendo's translator, that word is delight. Like it's like it's entirely possible they're not using the same word in every answer, and the translator just really loves that word.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's also the possibility that the translator's just fucking around. And it's just like, the whole thing's fake. Fuck it, we just went in. Maybe they've never been correctly translated. What if this is all just like one big? I guess by now they would have been caught. It would be very funny.
It'd be pretty poor practice if not.
It'd be very funny though. It would be extremely funny if the translator's just been changing all positive terms to the word delight, just because he likes that word.
For some reason, I have it in my head about surprise and delight. I don't know where that comes from.
Oh, like they've definitely used that.
That being a particular cliche, but from whom I can't even remember. It's just in there.
Donald Rumsfeld. We're going to surprise and delight them. No, wait, that wasn't the word he used. Anyway,
yeah, instead of shock and awe, yeah. I guess that's why the delight bit is necessary, isn't it? Because if you only say surprise, that's not necessarily a good thing.
We're going to surprise them with a knife!
So the delight part is like, no, it's surprise in a good way, by delighting, yes. Although, the scenario described in the email about, if you could sell expansion pack stuff, so people could play it on an Xbox. So, I mean, that would make, at that point, the Xbox in question would be a Switch. If everything, if the same standard that prevails when we say this or that is an Xbox, well, now that's a Switch as well. So everything is also a Switch, both an Xbox and a Switch.
If it's an Xbox, it's a Switch, like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares kind of shit.
If we get somebody on some Xbox bit of hardware to play Shadow Man on the N64, does that make every bit of consumer electronics a Switch?
I think it makes all of us culpable. Well, so if it's a device that is an Xbox, because remember, your cat box is not an Xbox, and some cat boxes have
That's important that we
some cat boxes, which I've never heard somebody call them cat boxes, have electronics in them. Then if it is an Xbox, it then is also a Switch. But if Switch doesn't have access to Xbox software, then Switches aren't Xboxes, but all Xboxes are Switches. So then the majority of consumer electronics are Switches. But they're also Xboxes, except for Switch, which is not an Xbox. It's really, we're just at the whim of Microsoft's. I mean, look, I'm not going to suggest that your Switch is an Xbox, or this is an Xbox, this is a cat box, or the t-shirt that says this is not an Xbox. I'm not going to suggest that's the product of AI, because AI is not that stupid. I'm going to suggest that's the product of Paul marketing. Does Nintendo need access to Paul marketing so they can say this is the Xbox version of Paul marketing, or the Switch version of Paul? No, they don't. But at the same time, I would love to see Microsoft's marketing team try to write a marketing campaign alongside Nintendo's. It would be terrible.
The whole thing just, it would make more sense if they didn't have the Game Pass brand as a separate thing.
Yes.
Like if Game Pass was just, Xbox games, or just like it's a subscription service, and it was just like Netflix or something. And that was the whole brand, was just Xbox is the streaming service, then I could understand it. But no, you have Game Pass as a separate brand. That's actually what you're talking about. All you're doing is muddling it for people's minds. I don't.
Oh yeah. It does, Microsoft's marketing teams are truly on a different level. Now, again, like we talked about, surprise.
I don't know if it's above or below. But they're definitely on a different level.
On a different level, it does not mean good. Normally it means good. Anybody who says it rationally means good. Not today. I would actually love to have been in the room with somebody explaining that this is an Xbox campaign to Nintendo executives. But why is there a shirt that says this is not an Xbox? Well, because you're not an Xbox. Well, obviously, you're a person. This is a stupid campaign. Why are they running it? Sir, they're one of our biggest business partners. You need to wear that this is not an Xbox shirt to the meeting.
They've asked for it specifically. They've been very clear about it.
I will not wear this shirt. You cannot make me. This is an Xbox shirt. Can we make it an Xbox? Yes, I think we can make it. I like that some of these emails are just literally titled "More Stupid Investor Questions." It's just like, oh, we're just going here, huh? Like the prospect was always open for y'all to ask a legitimate question. Is that where I knew this was going to go? No, I knew where this was going. Greg, do you want to read this one? I don't want to read this one. He wrote this in Gungan, and I hate it.
Oh my goodness! Have we got this? I mean, I have seen it in the inbox, but have we got this in the chat?
I can put it in there. Yes, I could.
Okay, I believe there are separate voices, so I'm gonna have to go all Alec Guinness in an Ealing comedy and do different parts. Am I?
Let me put this in the chat real quick. It's addressed as there are multiple ones addressed from different people.
I'm sure AI will deliver us that in one day. Is Alec Guinness performing Jar Jar?
Oh, dear God. I hate that. I hate that because now I'm pretty confident I could get you that in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just anything shit you could think of, you could get, isn't it? That's how it works. So, yeah, I'll let me see if I can summon it. I'm a bit older than the last time I did it, so... Misa was wondering, Yusa were planning to bring back in Miitomo and put it on the blockchain? Surely Yusa and Misa agreeing that an AI-powered Miitomo NFT project is just the bomb-bad idea that the market needs.
It's like he's in the room with me.
It's repellent on every level, isn't it?
It's so bad!
I don't know what I just heard.
Misa
don't know.
Thing is, it's actually gotten better, and that's worrying. Keep in mind, I saw episode 1 like 8 months ago, and so I'm fully reversed in that experience. God.
See, now Jojo would just he just gets. He's the one that gets scammed, isn't it? I mean, that's the I wouldn't trust him to run a scam. You run a scam on him. You just say, oh well. Yeah. If only Senator Amidala was around to invest in this definitely not a pyramid scheme, and he'd be like, yep, no, I'm in.
Jar Jar's investing in a company called Pyramid Scheme. Me select Pyramid. Has a many points. It's like, no, Jar Jar.
I can't do Lynn from Xenoblade X.
I don't think you need to. I don't know that any of us are prepared to do Lynn from Xenoblade X.
And I mean, the person that hates Donald for the third bit is probably Silly Sailor, and I can't do that.
I think we can skip the Lynn joke because that's only going to make sense for the 9 people who played Xenoblade.
We'll still do it. They'll make, they can make sense of it later because it's coming out in a couple of months. Well, less than a couple of months now.
Let Misa answer for Jar Jar first.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Misa thinking the blockchain, not Bombad.
Not Bombad.
Misa thinking it is scam. Pass. Also, we killed Miitomo because it sucked. Don't make us do it again. We're like, what's the gameplay in this? You fall. Okay, we're good. Pass. The only good thing to come out of Miitomo was the fucked up shit that we did with it. me using the AR camera in my dentist's office and putting my character in random places in the dentist's office. Getting walked in on by the hygienist. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it. As I slowly put the example teeth back down on the counter. I thought I was going to get thrown out of a dentist's office, which would have been a highlight of my personal and professional careers. Because I would have had to come on this show and explain why I got evicted from my dentist. Thanks to Nintendo. I think she was just like, I'm just going to ignore that I saw that, and we're going to get through this together. Because it was a very, very quiet proceedings after that for the remainder of the day. As I'm holding a pair of plastic teeth up to my camera, going like, I get the angle right. There we go. Yeah. Just right as the door opens. Let's turn on hi and put this down. I did find time to write the phrase persons of lordly chompers on it because my character was dressed in like a weird, what Nintendo might think a nobleman wore at some point in time, but it really just made me look more like a ringmaster that I won by falling, which if you recall, the key gameplay of Miitomo was falling. It's a shitty product.
Well, that's the thing. Like the main thing that was fun about it was the AR camera, which the Switch 2 doesn't have. So it's kind of a bad start there.
Until you plug it into the USB port.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. It daisy chains. It's got a USB port on the device. And so you put the camera on, then you put your Switch speak on that. That one's also got a USB port. You plug that one back into the USB port at the bottom of the Switch, and the top of the Switch charges the bottom of the Switch, and the bottom of the Switch through the Switch charges the top of the Switch. It's free infinite energy. Your battery the battery can't escape. The electricity can't escape. It's stuck inside the machine, so you can power it forever.
Mm-hmm.
I've also just sold Char Char the infinite energy machine. The senator's going to take it back to Naboo and be a hero. He's convinced.
Can't we just like sell it to OPEC for them to destroy it? They might be dumb enough to buy it.
It's not a matter of they're dumb. They just got so much money. Like, is there?
Yeah,
any
we may
chance
as well. It's almost no chance this is a threat, but why not? We may as well just make sure. And it's the Bill Gates buy him out, boys. Let's leave.
There we go.
Yeah, let's leave it there. So I can't do Lynn, but we can quickly say I'm having a roast on Saturday and was wondering what kind of seasoning you would recommend for cooking a Nopon. Thanks.
Time, just time. It's an herb. It's an herby. It's a very gamey meat. So trying to put herb and trying to get the gaminess out is probably the best way you can handle it. You're not going for like a strong umami here. You're trying to get more of a fresh flavors involved. I can't fucking cook for shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I made Japanese curry for the first time this week, and it was excellent. And I used tofu, but I guess like Nopon Katsu could go well with the whole thing. You just
juicy cutlet from a Nopon.
Well, what I don't know about Nopon, because we've never seen their anatomy, which I'm not upset about, to be clear. I'm not asking for an art book that has it in it.
I'm still wondering who's the main one in Xenoblade 3 of the blue one of the two.
Oh yeah. I'm blanking on his name now too.
I can't remember either. What's on his head?
It's got to be a wig, right?
Is it hair? Is it a hat? Is it a wig?
It's supposed to be hair, but I'm pretty confident it's a wig because I don't think I've ever seen Nopon with hair.
Yeah, so because he's just furry anyway. So I just but what is? It's bizarre. It's
and like fur isn't hair. Fur is fur. Like they're physically different. So like I think he's just wearing a wig for like 150 years.
Just for the style points. That is really, really strange.
Why is he a swords craftsman? There's no rhyme or reason to him. He's a weird nonsense character. He really is a weird nonsense character, isn't he?
No, he's like extra weird. I mean, like obviously the Nopon are there in all the games, and they're there for just to be weird, cute, furball things that for nonsense value. But like that one takes the cake.
He's also not affected by passage of time.
No, there's some sort of quasi-immortal being.
It's so stupid.
But if you tried to cook him, it may not kill him. That's the thing. We don't know. But, I mean, presumably, with Xenoblade X coming out in March, like everybody's going to be on the cooking tatsu train. Like, all the gags in online will just be about different ways to cook him, or how you threaten to cook him. I don't know. It's got such great value as a running gag. You know, it's just going to catch on.
But my favorite part about the cooking tatsu thing was you could tell how inured somebody was or wasn't to anime, because like I didn't even know, like I knew it was happening, but it didn't even occur to me that this would annoy people. I was just like, okay, yep, it's a running gag again, cool, whatever. Because like that shit happens all the time. People who don't like, why do they keep doing this joke? And I'm like, welcome to anime. We will beat this joke into the ground endlessly. If an episode passes and we didn't reference the joke, we screwed up. Let's get back on that, guys. The main character likes cream puffs. How many times can we work cream puffs into the script? It's like, okay, we get it. It's fine.
It's pretty difficult to relate to that, though, isn't it, as a non-anime podcast?
It is, yeah. This is a non-anime show.
We wouldn't run anything into the ground. Mm-hmm. Certainly not anything on hooves, for instance.
Well, no, he runs on top of the ground. Although, it's not clear that Horus has hooves.
No, not real ones anyway.
He's got feet and shoes. Well, we've never seen the inside of his shoes. Which, again, I'm not asking for it. I am explicitly not asking for the 1-2 switch art book to have Horus barefoot.
Don't worry, your phone is listening right now. That's going to show up in your YouTube feed in about 5 minutes.
The 1-2 switch art book. I am asking for that. I desperately need that.
Everybody 1-2 switch art, but yeah, that was the real premium edition.
Oh yeah, I will pay for an everybody 1-2 switch art book. Name the price.
I think my favourite thing about everybody 1-2 switch, and this
so
is genuine,
much to love.
No, this is genuine. Is that if you look at the My Nintendo store over here, when it's discounted, it's not £16.67. It's £16.66. I don't know what they're trying to say with that, to be honest.
What the fuck? Like, surely this is automated. Why?
It's all right. Anytime you have a discount where it's like 2/3, it's 67. It's not 66. They avoid that.
What if Lynn is the new host of the next 1-2 switch? Like, she's got the right energy for it. She's chaotic, loud.
Likes to have 100 of her friends around for the place in New LA to muck about.
That's true. Walks past the part that no one lives in, despite the fact there's a swimming pool. High energy, so much. Lynn has so much energy. Lynn throws off the "mom made us bring you with us to the mall" youngest child vibes, or everybody else is like, "Okay, Lynn, thank you," and meanwhile she's over there preparing a crock pot. It's like, no, we're good. We are. Also, they don't eat. It just occurred to me. Oh yeah, okay, never mind. Well, we can't go into that. I can't go on that rant right now.
No. Zip it.
The cooking tatsu is so stupid.
It is. And we've been on here saying how much we look forward to the notion of other people getting to experience that game.
That's true. You're right. It's weird. Like, this game, we talked about this game 9 years ago, and now we have to like stop talking about it again.
Yeah, you have to face up to the reality of it. And
they're gonna make me play that fucking game again. That's the part that gets me. All right, let's do this last one.
Sure. So, someone who hates Donald, who may or may not be Silly Sailor, says the Nintendo Switch is currently getting a steady release of eShop games every week. It's one word for it, steady. However, the number must go up on the Switch 2. Should have triple the number of games each week in order to triple Switch 2 software sales compared to the Switch. How is Nintendo planning to accomplish this?
Let me talk to you about a product called Arcade Archives. Our friends at Hamster have released a new game. New, air quotes. Every week since Switch launched. They have missed no weeks. Families have been abandoned. Holidays missed. parties skipped. Children unseen birthed. That sounds like nobody saw them when they were born. But the hamster train has never stopped. We believe there are more hamsters out there. And so, in order to continue to triple the output of games to the Switch 2's eShop, the specific dedicated eShop, we are not going to list any Switch 1 games on the eShop. If you wish to release your game on the Switch 2 specific eShop, rather than a segregated Switch 1 eShop you can launch from Switch 2, you will have to stage a second release. Why are we doing this? Because instantly, in that first wave, we will get every Switch game on Switch 2 counted as a release, allowing us to, in one shot, 100% the current Switch install software. This means everything else is an added bonus, and we will achieve 3x by asking Hamster to release 3 games a week instead of 1. I believe they have it in them, and I believe their families will miss them.
In addition, we will be instituting a very innovative payment scheme in which we will sell our games at half price, but you will have to buy them twice in order for them to work.
We'll sell our game in 2 parts.
Thank you for the question.
We will split our game into 2 halves, neither of which is launchable on its own.
Yeah, well, the new... Actually, they didn't see it with the Super Mario Brothers Wonder, image, but the new game cards, because that was just showing an old game card, the new game cards are Hue cards from the PC Engine, and they can't contain both parts of R-Type at once until years later when they actually got slightly higher capacity. But we're going with the original Hue card like there was in Japan. That could only contain 4 levels of R-Type. So, yeah, split each game in 2, twice the sales. It's not so much even business as it is arithmetic, isn't it? It's just, you got to have it.
We're going to release them in blind bags. What game is in here? Who can say? Oh, did you get part 1 of the Tears of the Kingdom port again? I'm sorry. Find a friend to trade for part 2 or just buy another blind bag. You'll get it eventually. Probably. Are they going to have 50-50 rates? They will not. God, that'd be the most fucked up shit in the world. You only need 2 carts. If you have two part 1s, you can play part 1. But you can't access part 2. If you want to access part 2, you need 2 part 2s or part 1 and part 2. It's really just the business of FOMO, like commercializing your FOMO. I think the other way of ensuring that we will have more software on the Switch 2 eShop than the Switch 1 eShop is the second phase of the Nintendo AI program that we are not supposed to be talking about, which is we will be producing our own asset flips under various companies that no one has ever heard of because we just made them up. Somebody posted, this is a thing that happened in the eShop. We've talked about it, but somebody posted in the NWR Discord it wasn't Mario, but it was like Mario or something. Soccer. Strikers, I believe is the phrase they used.
Yeah, I did see something of this, yeah.
Super Mario Strikers. And the best part is in the description on the Xbox store. It's like, get into the fast action of insert your game name here. And then just the rest of the text describing the game. It literally has bracket, insert your game name here, close bracket. It's amazing. So we're going to make sure the eShop has more content by doing that ourselves. We are going to flood all the eShop spam out of the market by spamming harder automatically in ways that they possibly cannot keep up with. We are going to recreate the biblical flood on the eShop to get all the unwelcome out. Fuck that. Again, we talked earlier about like Scam Brain has taken over. Scam Brain's like, that's not a terrible idea. Whereas Real Brain is like, that's the worst idea anyone's ever had. And I think they're both right. John, we need to get on that. Is your eShop full of crap?
Call Cleantal.
Cleantal. That's right. Call. We will lead a brainstorming session hourly to come up with how you can clean up your digital storefront. John, what should our hourly rate be?
Well, I know you combine it with John selling the actual premium software twice for the, having things 2x2.
It's true.
To complete the Noah connection.
We call this Operation Arc. The eShop Arc. Oh God, that's good. Oh, I think I
prefer to think of perhaps an eShop Lifehold. Maybe we could get something like
that. I think our hourly rate needs to be about $15.50 an hour.
Yeah, why not?
That's not 15. To be clear,
no, it's 15.
That's not
$1,505. Yeah, $1,550 an hour. A lot of
this
fives
is
in
billable.
there. Almost lost it.
This is billable hours shit right here.
Yeah.
And yes, we do round up at 20 minutes. What's your question?
But we do also round to 66.
66 minutes.
Not 67. That's for wimps.
That's true. We only round up. It's like, oh, you went over by 1 second, we're rounding up. And we do also cover our travel time. So the flights to Japan from, what's the farthest I can be from Japan? I mean, pretty much where I am right now. It's pretty much as far as you can be from Japan. So yeah, that 17 hours of travel we will be charging for. John, we're going first class. We're going first class to Japan.
It's the only way. It's the only way I fly.
I'm just now imagining you in first class of an airplane. Mm-hmm. And like everybody around you's in suits.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
I'm sitting there.
Good.
It's like, how did you get that Halo cat helmet on the plane? Don't worry about it.
Why are you wearing it on your hand? And talking to it like a puppet.
Look, I didn't buy a first class ticket to have a conversation with you, all right? Why do I hear the Halo theme? Just relax and enjoy the flight.
There's a button inside the hat. Every time I press it, plays the Halo theme. What's the problem? I did walk on a flight one time, one of the ones that had like the little booths, mm-hmm. like the super first class ones, and there was like a 9-year-old kid sitting in one. Just like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Like those things are huge.
Like, do you have a parent with you? Are you a solo traveler in a booth? What is happening in here? And then I had to proceed back to my steerage class.
And the thing is, too, it's a kid. That kid doesn't know the difference, right?
No, a kid. Put that kid in the middle seat. He's fine.
Like they wouldn't even appreciate it. They don't even really know the luxury of it that they're in.
I'm on an airplane.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm over the Pacific. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what the Pacific is. I can't even spell it. So yeah, I think $15.50 an hour should cover our first class flights to Japan.
I'd say so.
No, first class to Japan is pretty expensive. Well, we'll just throw travel in. Travel costs are included. Travel and lodging. Oh yeah. No, I mean, if we're gonna do clean toll, we really need to make sure that we clean up.
Yeah, it's making sure that we clean up. That's part of it.
That's right. Yeah. There we go. Okay. I think we got there. I think we've built a business model out of what's the shittiest scams we can put together, because apparently anything is fair. Let me look at the other ones, see if there's any other ones we want to do. We're pretty much at time for this one. Oh, these are all kind of long. All right. Well, we might do some more of these in the future because we actually got a lot more than I expected, but I appreciate all of them. I think that if you are going to Nintendo's investor briefing, this is your opportunity to go ahead and get a head start on asking the good questions. And don't let them get away with not answering it. Really press the issue. Make sure they answer the question in thorough detail. Otherwise, I mean, you know how it goes. We're going to end up, you're going to end up being made fun of unless you get a real answer out of them about their plans for getting Jar Jar Banks' new business opportunity.
That Miitomo NFT project. That's
right. If you are a Gungan senator trying to sell NFTs, we've got
you got to nail them to the wall. You got to make them confirm that they're doing that because it's guaranteed returns.
Misa Senator, like just keep reminding them that, and they'll eventually crack, and you'll get your answer. It's gonna take a while, but you'll get there. God, I just have this image of Jar Jar in the front row of an investor briefing, in his full stupid senator outfit. It's such a stupid image. We need to end this segment. Emails go to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. We're going to take a break. We come back. Got a little bit of new business. Stay tuned, I guess. We are back. We're going to do a little bit of new business. We've got kind of a interesting mix of things that have come out of new business. I don't really have much to talk about. I did what I said I wouldn't do and finished Unicorn Overlord again. I've now beaten it twice. A little harder difficulty this time, at least. But there's nothing really else to say about it. We talked about it last week. I talked about it when I was playing it the first time. So I'm going to pass on new business. Instead, I'm going to actually let Guillaume, who has something that is accidentally relevant.
Yeah, so, my last trip to, I guess it was, over the holidays, my last trip to sunny Peterborough, to my favorite used game store, I picked up a copy of Ridge Racer 3D. And for some reason...
3DS launch game?
Yeah, the 3DS launch game, but for whatever reason, back then, I was not into... racing games as I am now, and if I were into racing games, I probably wouldn't be playing them on the 3DS because I would have thought that, racing games, that just feels like something that you need to be playing on, the hardware that's on the cutting edge, not a Nintendo system, basically. This thing is no PS Vita, and even though, was the PS Vita out there back then? I don't remember.
Not yet.
Yeah, but anyway,
it would have been the year after or some months later. I forget. It wasn't too long,
right?
Yeah, it was announced.
But anyway, it wasn't really a draw for me, like any kind of racing game. And also, I didn't know Ridge Racer back then. I had never played it, never saw it in an arcade, I barely touched PlayStation back when that was a thing. I kind of went through college playing PC games and not really, having friends. So, so there's that. But so now I'm more aware of what Ridge Racer is. I've played R4 as a PS1 classic on PlayStation 3. I've played a little bit of 6 on the Xbox. And I was like, what would be cool to actually play one of these games in 3D? So I was looking for this cartridge, and I found it for decently cheap. And so I'm playing it, and it's enjoyable. It's a fun little game. It does have hiccups. It does slow down a lot when there's a little bit too much going on screen. But the 3D effect is for the most part successful, especially on a new 3DS. You can keep the 3D effect more easily. On original hardware, I'm guessing that you would lose it very easily because you didn't have eye tracking to keep you exactly in the sweet spot to be able to see perfect 3D. But despite the new 3DS doing working its magic, I still lose the 3D sometimes. Sometimes I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know if it's my hardware that's getting old. I don't know if it's a game that's just old and that's not, sometimes kind of, it messes up. Maybe the programming wasn't accounting for, I don't know. But sometimes, there's something weird going on with the 3D, and it kind of becomes jumbled a little bit, and it's kind of distracting. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's not a jumble. It's more things like polygons going through the camera when they shouldn't be, and stuff like that. But I'm enjoying it a lot, and I wish that someone had properly explained to me what Ridge Racer was back in the day.
It's
because
Ridge Racer.
It is Ridge Racer, but there's a playfulness to it that I did not expect. You know?
Yeah.
Because Namco just the music, some of the tracks in this game are insane. You know, it's just like, yeah, sure, let's put every sound effect from like Dig Dug and Pac-Man and you know all our franchises, and we're just going to mix that into some sort of tune. There's lots of reference to Mappy and you know, all the cars, like they've got like references to Pac-Man and everything. So like it's really fun that way.
Namco is when they're left to their own devices are slightly nuts. And they will do all kinds of weird stuff. And that game has a lot of it. Even that 3DS Ace Combat game they made, at one point they're like, what if we did Pac-Man themed fighter jet paint? It's like, why? And they're like, I don't know. 'Cause?
Sure.
And that's the answer. I don't know, 'cause.
Didn't they do a sort of re-release or something to
they
that?
Sure
where
did.
So they had like amiibo unlocks for decals.
Yeah,
maybe the Pac-Man would have been one of those, but it was like obviously Nintendo characters as well.
Yeah, there was like Mario and Luigi, and they sure did it.
So I had to track a cartridge for this because they never, like, this was, as you said, a launch game. And the 3DS eShop was not a launch thing for the 3DS. Nope.
It was
certainly like the full retail releases were not even part of the 3DS launch, I don't think, the eShop launch. So like they never went back. Like this is one of those games that was never available on the 3DS eShop, and I feel like I would have grabbed it way earlier if it had been the case. It's kind of weird that like so many developers, publishers didn't really bother. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, like I feel like back then I didn't really appreciate what Ridge Racer was, partly because I didn't know what it was, and also because back then I was very much in the mindset of like, well, you know, racing games, they're on the cutting edge, and that's what you're looking for. And at this point in my life, I realized that the games, the 3D games, the 3D racing games of that era are basically like the platonic ideal of a racing game for me, of an arcade racing game, you know, like none of that open world stuff, just, you know, like games that are just happy to have like the most reflections possible on the car, on the paint, or whatever, and that make it exciting to just go through a freaking tunnel, you know, like, holy shit, it's a tunnel. You wouldn't see that on the Super Nintendo. And yeah, like like it's just like the aesthetic, the kind of the quote, like the low polyness of it, is something that I seek. It's like I don't actually want the cutting edge. I don't want Gran Turismo 6 or 7. I don't know which one we're at right now. I'd like to revisit or actually to visit for the first time, like Gran Turismo 1 or 2 on the PlayStation 1, you know. So so like it's pretty cool that way. Like to be able to revisit that era, and like I'm enjoying Ridge Racer 3D a lot. It's not as if like there's a Ridge Racer Encore that I can play on the Switch, so clearly this is the only way that I'm going to get my Ridge Racer fix on Nintendo system. Unless Nintendo chooses tonight, while we were recording, to announce that they're releasing on the Nintendo Online expansion pack, Nintendo's
with the C and the K.
Yep. That Ridge Racer 64 is now part of that library. So I'm excited after we finish recording, to just, play the game that, it was the I guess the only version that Nintendo players could play for a long time. And, I hear it's not, like a perfect recreation. That the physics are pretty weird, and that at the end, like the games just flat out cheat. But still, it's very exciting. Like I had been waiting for this, for some reason. Like I was like, you know what? If I get the opportunity to play Ridge Racer 64, I'm gonna take it. And now I get that opportunity, so I'm pretty thrilled.
Yeah, it's interesting. I recall at the time, I think it was pretty well received, but I guess there was an element of like, you know, it's a bit late, you know, for it to kind of achieve much. It was because, it's very much at the end of the N64's, you know, life, really. You know, the GameCube was in 2001. So, you know, it was a bit like compared with, obviously, when you think of Ridge Racer, you think of it as being an early kind of killer app type thing for the PlayStation, you know, in the mid 90s. And obviously you had a number of iterations after that. Like, I think the most kind of celebrated of those would be Type 4. And even that would have been a couple of years before that, you know, in 98. So I think this is, you know, kind of it. First of all, Nintendo, you know, kind of did handle the development by giving it to NST, who, you know, sort of ended up doing a lot of Mario vs. Donkey Kong games later on, you know, and mostly just kind of being a support studio or kind of thing after that. So, you know, it's very much in that, if you think of the whole thing of like Nintendo's, you know, attempts to kind of defeat Sega, kind of turning them into Sega in the late 90s and the early aughts. Well, it's kind of like that, because it's like when Sega would, you know, in the old days, like that. Well, we'll just pay, you know, Capcom for the license, and we'll program Ghouls and Ghosts as a, you know, Genesis game or whatever. You know, it was that kind of scenario. So they, you know, it wouldn't have been, you know, kind of this up to, you know, where Namco had got on, you know, PlayStation with their more recent iterations. Presumably it would have been, you know, kind of NST, you know, it's somewhat obviously in collaboration with Namco, I guess, but you know, trying to kind of reverse engineer it as best they can on different hardware, and yeah, kind of taking bits and pieces from earlier games. And you know, like I said, I think it reviewed well, but never the kind of thing I would have paid the premium for back then, right? Because it did seem a bit old hat, and you know, it just was very expensive for me in particular. But just generally, N64 games were expensive, being on cartridges and stuff. So it's the kind of thing it's nice to be able to have the option to look at now. I think you know, I don't know. I think it was famously a bit kind of short on content, but then I mean, what arcade racing games weren't? I guess maybe. But presumably some of those better thought of Ridge Racer games probably did have more stuff, but you know, that's generally what they're like. You know, they don't have a huge amount of things to do, but it is just kind of
well, even like one of the best regarded ones, Ridge Racer 4, or is it just called R4? Anyway, like that
Type
one,
4,
like
I think
I was I was struck
to.
by how few tracks there are actually. It's it's weird, and the progression is weird, and it's really hard. So I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
I had this game at launch because the 3DS is, for those of you who aren't around, because it's a while ago now. The 3DS's launch lineup was sparse.
Yes.
Yeah. There was this. There was was it Tom Clancy themed?
Yeah. The strategy game.
Yeah.
Ghost Recon?
Ghost Recon.
Was it a Ghost Recon?
Yeah, it was. I just can't remember what the full title was. It was like, people were calling it like Fire Emblem Ghost Recon, which is a little bit of a, you know, but still. What else did we have?
Yeah, Rayman 2.
Rayman 2.
You had to have Rayman 2 at launch or something, didn't you?
Was Pilot Wings Resort?
Pilot Wings Resort. That's what I had, yeah.
That was Nintendo's big contribution. And Face Raiders.
Street Fighter 2, sorry, Street Fighter 4, I should say.
That's right.
Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
3D, the Resident Evil.
The Mercenaries.
The Mercenaries game.
Which was a tech demo.
And I think, I think I did get to play this a little bit. I didn't have it, but a friend had got a 3DS early and had a copy of this, so I ended up playing around with it a bit, and it seemed like it was, you know, one of the more striking kind of 3D. I mean, Pilot Wings was good for the 3D early on, but a racing game, a much more natural kind of use of it than, like Street Fighter. Or I'm sure it was I think it was a decent sort of port of Street Fighter 4 for the hardware that it was on, but, it isn't naturally kind of as useful for showing off the stereoscopic effects as a racing game was. So it made sense. It filled a spot there, and I think it was pretty solid.
I remember enjoying it, but yeah, it was thin. All right, so 10% of the 3DS launch lineup were versions of Nintendogs plus Cats.
Yeah, of course. No, that's right.
It is Spartan. There was a Pro Evolution. There was a Bust a Move game. There was an Asphalt 3D, which was a mobile port racing game. Mm-hmm. There was a Samurai Warriors game, Steel Diver, which we didn't mention.
Yeah, I don't think that was a launch game in the West, though. I think, or something. Was it? Maybe it was a little bit late. I seem to remember there was something about it maybe getting a tiny bit delayed, or it came out at a different time in Japan, or there was something there. Because Japan, I think it did. Yeah, that's the weird thing about the 3DS, wasn't it? Is that was still when it came out a little bit earlier in Japan. There was actually like a month or something, right? Like it was February of 11. In Japan and March of everywhere else. Like, it's kind of hard to imagine that happening now, but it wasn't uncommon back then.
Mm-hmm. It was weird because I want to say the US and Canada actually got it after Europe as well. I think it was like 25th and the 27th. It was kind of a staggered launch for reasons, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Steel Diver was a launch game. Weird. It was a launch game in North America. But it came out 2 months later than the rest of the world. What? What? That's weird as shit. And
I knew there was something odd about it, but I couldn't remember the specifics.
Like, was that an NST game or?
I don't think so. It might have been. No, that was Vitae, wasn't it?
I think Vitae did that subsequent Steel Diver. For sure. The Sub Wars or whatever, the free to play thing.
They are both Vitae games.
But I think they may have been at least like involved with the first one as well. I mean, obviously it has its roots going back quite a long way. Steel Diver, because it was like
a demo for the original Nintendo DS.
So there's got to be a certain amount of internal on that. I would have internal Nintendo.
Oh, and Lego Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars. They launched with the Clone Wars game. Sure, fuck it,
man. Like, how depressing.
That's a rough launch lineup, unless you're really into Combat of Giants: Dinosaurs 3D.
So I actually have some. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I actually have some more new business.
Go for it.
Yeah. I guess this falls under new business. I don't know what came over me, but I went and decided I was going to go all in. Maybe like it was the fear of tariffs, being, the US against Canada. Maybe it was, I don't know. I went and got one of those 2 terabyte expansion cards for the Xbox. And so now, like, I was, I guess, tired of being frustrated by the fact that sometimes I tried to install some games and I didn't have the space anymore. And now I never have to face that again, or a lot less.
Not for a while.
Yeah, because it just offers a massive amount of space for an incredibly high price. And I feel simultaneously silly for buying it, but also kind of like savvy. I feel like, you know what? When future collectors will look back on the Xbox and they're looking for the accessories, I bet this fucking expensive memory card or SD drive is going to be like one of those things that I'll be glad that I bought when I could, and that I'll be able to resell for a lot, or not. I don't know what I was thinking.
It's going to be the Xbox Series equivalent of the GameCube component cables, you think?
Exactly. At least I hope so. But like, so I got it. That thing is tiny. It's surprisingly heavy. There's a port in the back of the Xbox, so you plug it in there. And then I just proceeded to download everything that I quote unquote own, like all the digital games that I got over the years. Almost, in great part through the Xbox Live / Xbox Gold freebies, and also like lots of Xbox reward points, giving me Xbox money to buy games when they're on sale.
The fruits of the bigging, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And tons of old games that I probably, maybe now I have a slightly higher chance of actually getting around to and playing. But then again, maybe not. You know, like, I don't know what it is with me. Like, I did. You know, like you guys sometimes talk about how like, oh, I'm good. You know, like I don't have a backlog. I don't buy more games than I can actually play. And here I am, like just last night, just downloading like the complete XCOM 2, like special edition with like the full game and all the expansions, and there must be like 6 or 7 of them. Like I didn't know that there was so many. Like I got it for like $10 or whatever on sale, but took forever to download. That thing is massive. I don't even know if I like XCOM. I've never played it. And
I like this new Guillaume. I really like him.
Oh man,
oh my God.
We should hang out.
Oh man,
I mean, like I've got loads of stuff I could be playing already. I mean, especially with Xbox stuff. You know, like there's just the odd thing that they're so cheap. Sometimes I will buy it, even though it's like, is there almost any chance I'll actually sit down in front of the TV and play this rather than just keep playing my Switch? It's very little, you know, but it's like, the Xbox version of Symphony of the Night is there. I mean, I've already got it on PSP or whatever, but it's like, no, I'll have that if they're virtually, you know, if they're giving it away for so little. Or just this week with the whole developer direct thing, whatever they call it, they had this whole Ninja Gaiden revival, right? So we got Ninja Gaiden 4, we had the new version of Ninja Gaiden 2, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black or whatever, but they also discounted the Xbox original on the store of Ninja Gaiden Black. So, and again, like that, I think that had been like close to £10 or £9, something like that. And then it's like, oh, but it's 50% off. It's like, well, you know, everybody said this was great back then. You know, it's kind of a seminal game in that whole character action thing. And, you know, I have enjoyed games of that sort, you know, like the Bayonetta and stuff. And I did play, I think it was Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 on PS3. A long time ago, and that was okay, but I guess it was like also it's like, oh, it's a bit of a like watered down version, you know, compared to like the full gore version that was on the Xbox or whatever. So it's kind of like, yeah, will I play this? It's very debatable, but I'm still for £4 I'm going to buy. So you know, it happens.
There's go ahead. Okay, there was a write-up the other day of like the different versions of all the Ninja Gaiden games. And it's like, Ninja Gaiden 2, which version should you play? Hell, I don't know. And it's just like, there's like 4 different versions of that game that are like materially like, one, they took the gore way down and they changed difficulty a lot. And then they made another revision that's like, okay, they tried to balance between the original Ninja Gaiden 2 and Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. And then it's like, but then they pivoted a little too much. And it's like, oh my God, how many times have they touched this thing? So, yay, new definitive versions. Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. So I bought that expansion card just because I thought like it would be nice to have. But then I realized like, wow, that's a whole like half of a PlayStation 5, I guess, that I could have paid for with this. But
if you ever wondered what the price you would put on fridge cleaning was, well, there it is. You've paid it.
Apparently, yeah. No, that's the thing. That's like these fucking tariffs, man. I'm just they've pushed me to make purchases that I would have probably not made otherwise. Like I said a few episodes ago that I probably don't spend enough. Like Karen's like, have fun with your money. So I went and got like what do I need? What would be really nice to have? And I guess the answer was a really good pair of slippers, a really high-end electric shaver, and a 2 terabyte expansion card for the Xbox. So that's the answer to that. I'm kind of wondering also, like, is this my midlife crisis?
You're a simple man.
I don't think so. If someone were to just out of context give those 3 things to me, just say them to me, and ask me to just say whatever comes into my mind, it would be you only live once. So I can see how you got there.
For me, it would be serial killer.
Wow, that's a jump. That's a jump.
Jeez.
I'm gonna.
Oh my god!
Especially the memory card.
As soon as he walked in the room, he just saw the terabyte expansion and on the shelf, and he knew straight away he was the killer.
Is
he
that
can't
Phil Collins
disconnect
playing?
from his previous games.
But I'm thinking more like the I need access to all this backlog, right? Like I feel like I don't have like a life's work that I need to finish. Like maybe this is my way to be like, well, I can't die. I've got all these games that I need to play through first.
There you go.
This is my way. Like I guess, yeah, my Xbox backlog is my unfinished work, life's work. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where I'm going with this. Someone please, what have you been playing?
I mean, I can talk about No Man's Sky.
John, talk about No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
awesome.
So speaking
it's
of
been
piling
updated
stuff
again.
Speaking of piling stuff on a backlog, so this came out of me getting PSVR 2, and I still have yet to play this with PSVR 2. But that's mainly because and from what I've read, this is absolutely amazing in VR, and I can see because it's a space game, so it's just perfectly made for VR.
Right.
But yeah, this is just, I've always been very curious about this game, but of course this game, when it first got released, was majorly overpromised and majorly under-delivered, so didn't really think much about it. I think I have played it at some point on Xbox, just out of curiosity. I think Guillaume, when it was free on Game Pass at some point. So, I sort of played it and kind of bounced off of it. And I said, oh, okay, this is cool. Because, it's the whole thing is you're exploring procedurally generated worlds. And that was probably, that would have been probably 5 or 6 years ago, if I were to even guess. And, of course, with this game, they just kept adding stuff onto it and kept improving it. And of course, this came out in 2016, so it's been 9 years of constant development on this. So don't give up, kids. If your game fails, in 10 years, it will be a success.
I'm sure Ubisoft is thrilled at this news. Oh no, they've just shut down another project.
Yeah.
Skull and Bones is going to get there eventually, John Lindemann.
Yeah, don't you worry. 7 years from now, it'll hit its peak.
On Switch 4, Skull and Bones will finally get there.
Yeah. But this game is really cool. You can tell that it's geared towards PC players just because of the way you interface. It feels very mouse clicky, the interfaces, which isn't a bad thing, but it's a little bit weird doing it with
pointer oriented.
Yeah, there's a lot of move a cursor over this and hold the button down to do the action sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
It feels like it very much feels like, oh, okay, well, this game is made for PC, but you're just going to use your joystick the same way as you would like a mouse pointer. But that's fine. It works perfectly fine. But it can just get a little bit bogged down in menus because there are a lot of menus in this. But I think what they've done a much better job of, I'm sure, compared to the way the game was 5, 6, 7 years ago, is it plays more like a structured game where you actually start out and you have quests. The first part of the game, it just spawns you on a random planet because the thing is, it's like you have multiple star systems, and supposedly in the latest update they just added trillions more planets, which is, of course, that probably means they can just spawn random planets. But they've also added more things. They've made everything prettier, and you can now go underwater, and you can there's a lot more mountainous terrain, I guess. Like the mountains of the procedurally generated planets, they can be really large, and that's the appeal of this game overall, is exploring these randomly generated planets and kind of uploading them to the galactic database and scanning all the life. Of course, I love any game in which you can scan stuff, whether it's Metroid Prime or any game where you're just scanning something to get lore or do something. I don't know. I find it incredibly gratifying. And so that's what this game does. It plops you on a planet where everything is undiscovered. So you have to go and scan the flora, scan the fauna, and all of the different minerals and stuff that you can mine, and you have a little mining gun. So really what the start of the game is, it's kind of slow, and that's also why I didn't play it in VR, is because I didn't want to learn. The game was so unfamiliar to me, and I knew that I would be just wading through menus and trying to figure stuff out, and I didn't also want to have to grapple with VR controls on top of that. I wanted to learn the game and figure out really how to do things in a streamlined way, to the point where things just become habitual, and then I'll tackle playing it in VR. So it starts off, and it introduces you into the systems of the game by just having you create, craft things, because crafting is a huge thing here. The general gameplay loop at the very start is you go around and you collect minerals, and whatnot, and then you create building materials and different sorts of tools and a mini refinery, so that you can take this ore and change it into this ore, and then you use that ore to combine with something else, and you can create fuel for your ship. And so there's a lot of that, a lot of crafting and a lot of upgrading and stuff like that. It can be a bit tedious, but the thing is, the game, it works just because it's very relaxing. It's not. It's relaxing in general but at the start, there's a little bit of urgency, just because you have. I'm sorry, I'm on a very cold planet, so my experience might actually be totally different if it was just on a temperate planet, because I'm on a cold planet, and so your suit has life support, so you have to always keep the heat regulator stocked, right? So you have to gather materials so that you can recharge your suit so that you don't freeze to death. And then you also have to gather materials because you also have life support that ticks down. So that's how it kind of introduces a little bit of urgency to things. But I think you can also just set the game to, you just wander around and you don't have to really worry about a thing. And where at that point it just really becomes kind of a tourist game where you're just exploring different planets. But I opted for a little bit of risk there. And so really, I'm probably about maybe 4 or 5 hours into it, which doesn't really mean much in a game of this size and scope, but I've gotten to the point where, I can fly my spaceship around. I've upgraded my suit a little bit. I've gone up to the nearest space station, which is another thing. You can go up to a space station and talk to other aliens. You can learn alien languages. And of course, you can, buy things and sell things and get charts for other star systems and all of that kind of stuff. And you're playing through a story, which I think this is one of the big things that they've added over time is you're playing through this story and kind of trying to figure out, you're getting mysterious messages and you're trying to figure out who they're coming from. And so, you go to you fly around not only on the planet that you start on, but then you go over to the next planet. But to do that, you have to upgrade your ship and get a hyperdrive and, just all kinds of sort of stuff like that. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to keep playing it, but it's not something it's something I'll probably tackle, every couple of days, hop on and play for a couple of hours. It's not something where you sit down and play it for a long stretch of time. You just it's very much I would describe it like, it really is like, these are kind of cozy games for me because you just, like, there's not really, you just kind of roam around and just see what's out there. There's no real aim. There's a story that you can work through, but you also don't really have to do that. You can just, like, if you want, you can, you have a mining gun, but also a terraformer sort of gun. So if you want, you can just sit there and you can just, point it at the ground and you can just start digging a hole and just keep going. You can just do all kinds of goofy stuff like that, right? So,
make a bot that just digs to the bottom of the world.
Yeah, I mean, you can just, there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, the crafting I haven't even really gotten into much, but I mean, you can create, huge structures, I'm sure, but you sort of unlock that stuff like in a tier sort of system. Like you unlock this, then you can make these 2 things, and you unlock those, and then you can make, 4 more things, and it all kind of builds on itself. You get these tools, and then you can get this type of material, and you can combine that, and you can use that material to build this other thing that you can then use as a refinery and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but it's cool. And I'm just taking it pretty slow. And I think once I have a good grasp, and I think once I don't have to worry as much about the elements, and I can just, and I think that's going to take a little while to kind of upgrade my spacesuit, upgrade my ship. Then I'll probably, break out into VR. But it's pretty cool though, because other people can join too. It's multiplayer. And you see other people's ships going overhead. So, it's a very neat game, and I can see why people like it, or why people play it over, much like something like Skyrim as well. I can see why people play it over a very long period of time. And
the weird thing is, it's not really a game as a service game, like at least economically.
No, like that's what I like too, is the fact that it's not trying to get me to do something. It doesn't have a FOMO-based business model. All the updates are free. You buy the game. I think I got it on sale for for like $15 or something like that. And that's it. Like, it's very rare to have a game like this where they keep adding content to it. And frankly, I think the fan base at this point is pretty baffled by it. Because they're sitting there, and Hello Games, they're also, I mean, with this, I watched the video blog for this update that just came out yesterday, and Sean Murray, who was the guy who, he was, to his credit, he was out there taking all the heat when the game was not what people expected at launch, but he's stuck with it, and people
it was his words that did it.
Yeah, exactly. He dug a hole for himself, but to his credit, I mean, the game has come around, and people are frankly just kind of amazed to where it's the sentiment on the game has turned around to where people are like, why are you still doing this? This is just weird. You're just giving us free content. And in the video blog, he said, well, we're developing this other game, Light No Fire, and we're making improvements to that engine. And as we make improvements over there, we know people still like No Man's Sky, so we just port those improvements over to No Man's Sky. And it's sort of like, oh, okay, thanks. You can do that. We appreciate it. But people are sort of like, you're not going to charge me for this? Like, take my money. Like, I really enjoy this game and thank you for the free updates, but why are you still doing it for no money? So, I don't know. But yeah, they're an anomaly, I guess, Hello Games. So, but this is kind of like, it is really sort of an MMO, where you don't pay a subscription. You just keep playing the game and they keep updating it. So, it's really interesting. So I'm enjoying it so far.
Cool. Greg.
Yes, well, I think I've mostly been playing the DKC Returns HD version. I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be playing it quite this soon, but it was a pretty good deal just before launch day that put it just a shade above in pounds, a shade above like where it is when they actually do digital discounts on Nintendo software. So like £36 instead of 33. So there was just this feeling of like, I could wait for this, to come down to 33 one day, and that is as low as it will ever go, or I could just get it now, which I'm kind of in the mood for something that I know I can get through relatively quickly, after, going, for so long on Brothership and stuff. So, I did end up getting it, and, I think perhaps I'll, talk about that at length. next week, because I did rip through it pretty fast just in terms of getting to the end and all that, but there's more stuff, with some of the unlockable things after you clear the game and whatnot, so we'll talk about that then. A couple of things I did think of, first of all, with we already mentioned the expansion pack update that went up tonight, but was it last week there was the regular sort of tier update with those Super Nintendo games. So you had one of them was Sutte Hakkun, which I talked about many years ago. Probably would have been 09, 10 maybe, when I had a Japanese Wii.
And I think I talked about it a little bit after that at some point.
Yes. So, it's, because it was originally kind of a Satellaview kind of game, Indie Zero, who have gone on to make the NES remix games and Theatre Rhythm, a bunch of kind of nostalgia kind of based games in many cases, not exclusively. Like that was an early thing for them. I think the concept was something that was like some of these like early Nintendo like game jam type seminars, in the Famicom days, and then eventually, it became something that got distributed through the Satellaview service, or a certain amount of it anyway. And then at some point, I think you could get it as a what they called the I forget exactly what it was now. Something to do with like the Nintendo Power. It's weird because obviously Nintendo Power is a magazine in America, but it's like there was essentially like emulating the Famicom Disk System distribution model with rewritable Super Nintendo cartridges in Japan. And so I think it was available as something you could get sort of flashed onto a cart. And then eventually all the way right at the end of the 90s, well into the kind of afterlife of the Super Famicom, when, because it did have a substantially longer life in Japan, overlapping with the N64 and the PlayStation. It was an actual boxed copy. And I guess it's for that reason that we get this we did get it, at least in Japan, they got it as a Wii Virtual Console release. And now, you see it as an NSO thing because, unlike some of that other kind of Satellaview content, it did get it into a retail product one day. But the nice thing about this is that it's like very import friendly, as we used to say. There is obviously there's Japanese language in it, but it's not terribly important. So kind of like, it's in that kind of Mario Super Picross or whatever category on the NSO, where it's like, there's text but it's fine, rather than like some other game. Well, those egg console games that James loves bringing up, where it's like, well, this just plain doesn't work if you don't have some kind of knowledge of Japanese language and all that. And I would have thought it's pretty much, I played a decent amount of it on my Japanese Wii all those years ago, but I would have thought it's far more suitable as a portable game, because it is like, just these little quick puzzle platformer levels, where you've got this little transparent drinking bird thing, and you could kind of absorb blocks and transport them and place them, and then you kind of inject them with different kinds of paint that gives them different properties, and that just sort of they layer the complexity on top. It's really simple at first, but then there's like many puzzles, and it just gets more complicated and all that. Nothing earth shattering, but it's nice to see them put something that, again, kind of like that Super Picross game. It's just like, why not? Like, this can work for players as a Japanese game, without having to do too much heavy lifting. Panel de Pon would be another case as well. Although they're probably more affected by being in Japanese, right? Because there's a little bit of like characters talking and stuff, isn't there? In like the Panel de Pon story mode or something.
Like, I don't know that it really matters, but it's there.
It's present, at least, but good to have stuff like this, so that was, and that did remind me of the fact there was a couple of just things I'd filed away because they were like import games, like I would have wanted to mention for honourable mentions last week, one of which is developed by Indie Zero, and that would be the Game Center CX games, retro game challenge, I played that Switch compilation from Japan of the 1 and 2 of the Game Center CX games. I really enjoyed revisiting those in that sort of package, and then also quite enjoyed Bakaru, which did end up coming out, so seemingly against the odds. From Goodfield, the Goemon so I would have wanted to mention those in my, sort of honourable mentions part of last week's kind of list. And also, Splatoon 3, the Side Order expansion. Again, they had some kind of reservations about it. It didn't feel like they quite had enough content to support how far they were kind of trying to stretch it, seeing certain bosses too many times or certain sort of room concepts too many times, but was still an interesting kind of spin on the Splatoon formula there. So, I felt like that was worth mentioning. I neglected to do it last week, but I think that'll pretty much do it for me today.
Cool. All right. Well, that is going to do it for us this week. As always, emails rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. I need a new way to end the show because it's pretty boring every time I do it the same way. So instead of saying, Greg, what's our music this week? Like I say it every week, I don't know how to Hey, Greg, do you by chance have some music people might want to hear? There's no easy way to answer this question differently.
Well, yeah. So we have a request here from a good while ago. KSO was originally recommending or sort of putting forward, nominating the game Gimmick! Which from Sunsoft, a very like, speaking of like Afterlife, a game from the Famicom's Afterlife from Sunsoft, which was only released outside of Japan in Scandinavia. Very, very oddly. But, it was just a very, very late Famicom game. The Super Famicom had been, pretty well entrenched there by then. And even, I think the Super NES had even reached Europe by that point. It was so kind of deep into, that kind of period. But, as a very late Famicom game, it was pushing, and, Sunsoft stuff, they were pretty good at getting some, very eye-catching kind of visuals and stuff out of the Famicom. And, in this particular case, they actually had some unique, like, custom, chips, in the cartridge.
Yes.
To have, more sound channels for the music. We saw this elsewhere with things like, the Castlevania 3 soundtrack in Japan was more sophisticated because you weren't allowed the same flexibility in the US and elsewhere with, Nintendo controlled the production of the carts more, kind of directly, and therefore you couldn't have the same kind of custom, chips in them. So what you end up with in the soundtrack to Gimmick is something that's always distinctly got that Famicom NES kind of sound, but, with more channels to play with, it is more sophisticated. So it's a really kind of cool soundtrack. Game itself is, kind of somewhat infamously difficult. Really, the KSO did mention this, in the email originally, in terms of that it's kind of noted for its very high difficulty. And so, I think you can get this on Switch. I think it was from about, which is presumably what precipitated it getting nominated. It was made available in the middle of 2003 somewhere, an emulated version of this Famicom game with some extras like time trial modes and, kind of scans of the manuals and stuff like that. And then last year, there was a sequel produced. Which, I've not played myself. Apparently, just reading a few reviews, it seems like it rated quite solidly. But if you have played, the original Gimmick, that might also be something to consider. But the track in question, and why I felt like it had to be now, is because, it's the first level song, which, and we have actually, I think it was one of the very first listener requests we ever did with the beginning of ending music requests nearly 10 years ago was from this game. But it wasn't this song. And this song, the first level song, is called happy birthday. And as we are now recording on the 31st of January, this is in fact Gimmick's 33rd birthday. So presumably that's still nothing to do with Parasite Eve because it's the 33rd birthday rather than just the third one.
Nice.
But it's Sunsoft first level music. You can't go wrong. Think of pretty much, you have Sunsoft Batman, Journey to Silius, Blaster Master. They really didn't miss with this sort of thing, and it is exactly what you get.
Cool. All right. Well, on that, I can't use that phrase. I'm trying to be different. On that, the show's over. Go home. Bye.
Go away.
Stop listening.
Boo.
Yeah, get out of here.